Did you ever think you would make it? I feel I'm so close I could taste sweet victory. I know this life meant for me. Yeah, why would you bet on Goliath when we got Bet David? Valuetainment, giving values contagious. This world of entrepreneurs, we get no value to hate it. How they run, homie, look what I become. I'm the one.
Okay, so it's home team today with Sauce, Vinny, Tom Ellsworth, and Malik, a.k.a. Rob, in the house. We got a lot of stories to cover with you. Adam took me to a wonderful dinner last night I'll tell you about.
Anytime.
Just an incredible dinner Adam took us to. At this point, folks, I do have a warning to all of you and a suggestion. If you guys want to live a peaceful life, one of the things that's starting to happen to a lot of people, I suggest you start thinking about this as well. Whatever you do, just go look around your house to see if you have any classified documents. Because at this point, I'm concerned I may have some classified documents.
I swear to God, we did not plan this. I was looking at one of these. Look at what. No, I'm dead serious. And look, it says Hunter was here.
Oh,
holy!
My God.
Even he was even. It's even here.
But by the way, Pence. Biden, you know what it is? I bet there's people in politics that are pissed off. They're like, dude, can you just put something in because I want to get some publicity. Put something here for me to say I'm turning in my classified documents. More is coming out.
And Pence was what, travel documents or something?
Yeah, Mike Pence.
Travel briefings, really innocuous.
Solid Christian vice president, had some classified documents, so he joined the camp. We'll talk about that. Goldman Sachs says 4 cities will suffer a 2008 crash type in home values. If you are from those 4 cities, don't listen to today's podcast. If you want to know, stick around. We will share it with you. Biggest pay raises went to black workers, young people, and low-wage earners, according to Wall Street Journal. Interesting. We'll talk about that. Poll 64% say Biden handled classified files inappropriately. Apparently, Trump is back on Facebook and Instagram, and obviously Twitter was a couple months ago, but now it's Facebook and Instagram. Yesterday, Project Veritas sat down and got a chance to sit down with one of their directors that talked about what they want to do with the vaccines. And the guy opened up and he says, you can't tell this to anybody. And someone said the way they got the date with this guy was through Grindr because really interesting. I'm telling you, really, really interesting story.
Oh, yeah.
That's not a joke?
That's not a joke.
This is
that
serious.
Is not a joke. That was one of the ways that they got the guy to open up because apparently he felt comfortable. Google's going through a mess right now. Taylor Swift, maybe we'll cover that. Obviously, the Antifa, if we have time, we'll cover that. Amazon warns employees not to share confidential information with ChatGPT after seeing cases where its answers closely matches existing materials from inside the company. Jeff Bezos may sell Washington Post to buy Commanders, as if he needs to sell it to buy Commanders.
Yeah.
Pfizer CEO Albert Bourla, rough week for this guy, seriously, refuses to reply impromptu questions put forth by Rebel News. Maybe we'll talk about it. Scientists are working on a COVID vaccine you can drink. By the way, this is a CNET story. This is not like a joke.
Yeah.
Scientists are working on a COVID vaccine you can drink, especially those of you that love vaccines. This is great news for some that want more of it. And then, something's going on with Andrew Tate. Prison plea. He talks about cockroaches, lice, and bed bugs are my only friends. I don't know if you guys saw when they got out yesterday. Asked the cops if they have anything to show. Tate said, Tristan said. And an LGBTQ families mall leaving Florida in wake of new culture laws. That's a Herald Tribune story. Maybe we'll get into some of the stories. Anyways, let me first give a quick shout out to our sponsors, Masterworks. I'm really excited about this company we chose to team up with. If you want to show this year, here's how art is done over the years. A lot of people ask me questions and they'll say, Pat, how could you buy baseball cards? And I'll say, how could you not?
Yeah.
I mean, the only reason you should not if you don't know how this works. But art and cards are very similar. When you look at alternative investments today, you will see the Goldmans of the world, the BlackRocks of the world, the Morgan Stanleys of the world, a lot of them are starting to look at alternative funds, meaning art that you can buy. What Masterworks did, love their model. I believe they have 600,000 users right now, $600 million of assets under management. Last year was a record-breaking year in arts being sold ever in the history of America. $18 billion, folks, of art was sold last year. When you look at the inflation, last time it was this high was 1977 through 1982. The Art 100 index appreciated 130% during that time, from then to now. and inflation 80%. So this is something for you to consider. Contemporary art annual average right now is appreciation is 13.8%. If you want to learn more about it, these are these art pieces that they have. It could be Banksy, it could be Picasso. You're simply buying a share in the art that they're selling. So if you can't afford to buy a $3 million piece of the art, maybe you own one share to $3 million. Just the same way you buy Apple or Amazon stock, you buy a stock into the art pieces they buy. Very straight up model. It's qualified with the SEC. I suggest you look into this for yourself before you make any investments. So if you want to learn more, let's put the link below. It is not open to everybody, but they're allowing folks to come in. If you are a Valuetainer, there's a link specifically through Valuetainment that you can go in, check them out, and if you feel comfortable, consider investing with Masterworks. Having said that, let's get right
Pat,
into it. Yes.
It's funny you say that, and this is totally random. I bought a Biden, one of Hunter Biden's paintings.
You already
$200,000.
Really?
I'm going to hold on to that.
Well, good for. I don't know if they're going to have that kind of a painting, but this is actually real stuff that they're doing, and people are truly like investing into art today. Tom, what was the story you told me about the one art piece you bought and then you sold it, and what's the value today? It's a Warhol, I believe.
Yeah, it's a Warhol. And by the way, happy birthday, Buzz Aldrin. About a week ago, second man to walk on the moon. Is like 92 years old. Also got married.
That was a great set they had. Go ahead.
But he was the astronaut. That was the. By the way,
great. Don't go there, Pat.
Second guy to be on set.
Stop it.
Second guy to be on that set.
Now we're gonna be branded.
Remember what
flat earthers, election deniers. We are not that.
But you remember Buzz Aldrin in Beverly Hills punched the guy who said
I saw that.
Yeah, of course.
He said to put his hand in the Bible. That's why.
The original logo for MTV was actually an Andy Warhol print. First Man on Moon. Remember that with the guy?
Yep.
And that was Buzz Aldrin photograph taken by Neil Armstrong.
Rob, keep that picture.
And so I bought it's called Moonwalk, and there were there it is. Mine was yellow.
Of course. MTV.
He made two of them. One was in yellow, one was in pink. I owned the yellow one, bought it for 10, sold it for $17
million,
$1,000.
Jesus, Tom.
And by the way, that was back in 2000, 2002. And then this thing had an auction where an identical pair that were the same number, because there was only about 100 of each made, along with artist proofs. And these things went for $400,000 for a pair.
How long ago was this? 6 years ago.
No, this was Christie's last year.
Oh, okay, got it.
But I owned it in 2000, 2002.
So that's the part about art, Tom. At first you're so skeptical, and then you buy it, you sit on it, and then all of a sudden it goes from $10,000 to $4,000. When did you buy it for $10,000? 2000,
and then I sold it in 2002.
In 22 years, it went from $10,000 to $400,000.
But look what I was thinking. I bought it for 10, sold it for 17. I'm thinking 75%.
Yeah.
But it was a
similar situation happened to me with a Kobe
original Warhol.
Yeah, it was one of the originals.
Wow. By the way, shout out to Buzz Aldrin. How much younger is his, hotter is his wife?
Wow, listen, she probably sits there and says, if this guy can't land on the moon, I wonder where he lands with me. So I'm curious to know where this guy's
I'm going to rock your world, girl.
Like, he's good.
But land on my moon.
You said something earlier
she knew.
that there was like, it was, we all familiar with the S&P 500 and the NASDAQ.
Buzz,
the art
me to the moon.
100?
Yeah.
That's an index?
It is.
What is that?
It's a fund. It's a fund.
Wow.
Just like, there's a gold fund, there's a, currency fund. There's even crypto funds nowadays. There is an art fund. This is a real thing, by the way. So it's not like just, whenever you see billionaires going into art and kind of seeing what, you ought to just pay attention to it. You ought to just say, let me see why they're doing it. Now, if you're not a billionaire, you don't have that kind of money, but maybe you got 5,000, 10,000, 100,000, and you're thinking about buying a piece of a Banksy or a Picasso, this is one way to get in. Anyways, let's get into stories. Let's see. Let's go with Goldman Sachs. That's the story I want to go into first because it's economy. So let's look at this. Goldman Sachs says 4 cities will suffer a 2008 crash in home values. The story is from a couple days ago. They predict that home values will worsen through 2023 due to skyrocketing interest rates and declining housing prices. The firm predicts that San Jose, it's a lot of Sands, San Diego, Austin, and Phoenix will see the most drastic decreases of over 25%, similar to 2008, just in 2023. Goldman Sachs expects interest rates to remain at elevated levels longer than currently priced, in which the 10-year Treasury yields peaking in 2023 and raising their forecast for the 30-year fixed mortgage to 6.5% by the end of 2023. The bank states that these cities will suffer the lowest prices this year because they become too detached from fundamentals during the COVID-19 pandemic housing boom. Tom, what are your thoughts on this?
Well, Pat, this is what we've been saying, isn't it? And this is just the first set. Now, Goldman Sachs has said, here's the first set, and these are the ones that are going to fall the farthest, so they're easiest to predict. Now, there's other places in the country that are stable. Like right now, Florida's prices are stable, kind of down 4.5%, what I was reading. And it's because there's still enough demand in Florida to keep them there, and there's not supply to push it down, but the transactions aren't happening. So this is just the beginning of what we've been talking about for 9 months. The interest rates, the overpriced market, and now here it comes. It's coming back. And the question is, the reason you have a crash, why do you have a crash? Because the price will fall until someone says, I'll buy it. That's how an inverted auction crash works, is the prices keep dropping until somebody says, I'll buy it. Just like the price of art will keep going up at an auction at Christie's until somebody says, I'm out, that guy can have the painting. It's the exact same thing, just in reverse. We saw this coming. We've been talking about it for a while.
Rob, can you pull this up? I'm about to send this to you. Adam, you can give some thoughts until he brings it up. Go ahead.
Yeah, well, I actually kind of took a look at why these 4 cities. We've all seen what's happening in South Florida, especially in Florida. What goes boom must go bust, except for, I think, in South Florida. And where I'm kind of going with this is East Coast versus West Coast. Everyone on the East Coast, anyone in the Northeast, and if you're New York, Boston, Jersey, everyone is coming down to South Florida. They call Miami the 6th borough because they're not going to Atlanta. They're not going to South Carolina. They're not even going to North Carolina. Some people are. But everyone on the East Coast says, screw it, we're going south to Florida. All right, cool. So we can put that aside. Everyone on the West Coast, there's so many different options out there. If you're in California, you can go north to Oregon. You go north to Seattle. You go a little bit further east. Now you're in Vegas. You go south. You're in Texas. Like, there's so many different options out there. But each of these 4 cities, I was kind of going through this with my buddy Joe, who's here today. Shout out to Joe. And each of these cities have actually a very nuanced approach. So if you're looking at San Jose is what, 20 minutes outside of San Francisco? Yeah. Hello, tech jobs. We're seeing what's happening in the tech space. Microsoft, Google, the list goes on and on about how many people are getting cut from their jobs. 10,000 jobs being cut. Okay, so that's tech. Austin, same thing with tech, right? Isn't Austin a tech bubble as well? Yeah. So... And it's also, what do they say, keep Austin
Very
weird?
Good point you're making.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
then they call Austin Texifornia.
Texas,
so
hilarious.
And then obviously everything that's going on in California. Shout out to Gavin Newsom for being the U-Haul Employee of the Year for the 2 years running. Shout out to you.
Good job, buddy.
Amazing with him, MVP. California politics, the cost of living, it's crazy. San Diego, weird city, beautiful city, expensive though. Why are you moving to San Diego? What's the industry in San Diego? Last but not least, this is something that could raise a different conversation. Phoenix. How much of that is immigration? How much of that is immigration? Basically, people saying, I don't like what's going on here in Phoenix. So each of these cities are very weird. But back to your point, Tom, the underlying tone here is interest rates, inflation, cost of living for sure. But then there's a multitude of factors.
I would say to you, stay classy when you talk about San Diego. It's a little offensive. Can we go to the story?
Whale's vagina.
Can we go to this story here? So if you can show this.
That's like what you said, by the way. Yesterday we talked about what we believe.
We'll talk about that story with her maybe. Anyway, so this is Bloomberg. So we want to show both sides of the story. Bloomberg shows housing demand climbs as the U.S. market starts to show signs of life. Great. So for those that are in real estate, this is a plug for you. Go and zoom in a little bit so I can read exactly what it's saying in the description. If you can't do it, okay, there you go. Perfect. Housing demand is starting to show signs of recovery with pending sales of U.S. home prices. Home rising for the first time in more than a year, according to new data from Redfin. Pending sales climbed 2.9% in December. On a seasonally adjusted basis, this is the first month-over-month increase since October of 2021. Redfin says on Wednesday, other measures of demand, including data on brokerage, customers requesting home tours, and people contacting the company's agents, are up from November. Read more at the link in the bio. So go to the bottom now and let's see what people say. I want to read the comments now. If you can zoom in a little bit so you can, it says, first one, did a realtor write this? Number 2, don't do it. Next one, I was literally going over data last night that shows the opposite. Next one, this is completely false on all sorts of data. Austin, Texas is not having any issues like Bloomberg posts every week. You'll be broke believing everything this page posts. LOL. LOL, so contradictory. I mean, by the way, it's like 99% of the comments are saying you are full of shit is what they're saying to Bloomberg, right? So listen, here's what we're going to know. What we're going to know for sure is by the end of the year. The way I measure real estate is the following way. Ask the average real estate agent. The other day I was on the Clay Travis and Buck's show, which is great. They're great at what they do, and we're talking about the economy. And I said, if you want to measure how good real estate is doing, ask a realtor and ask them, how do you think 2023 is going to do? You know what their answer is?
It's great.
No. This is their answer. They'll say, well, I think 2023 is going to be a flat year. It's what's going to happen. And then I think 24-25 is going to be a great year. If a realtor who's very motivational, wakes up every morning listening to motivational videos, tells you it's going to be a flat year, it's going to be a down year, okay? Because that's just how these things work. If they tell you it's going to be freaking great, sick, it's probably going to be okay. So flat year means just, if you're going to sell, and if you're going to live in your house for more than 5 years, you have nothing to worry about. If you're going to live in it more than 10 years, you're already in it. But if you're debating leaving 6 months, 12 months, 18 months, don't be too greedy right now. You may want to consider selling your house. And if you're about to buy a place, we're going to buy this building down the street for, they were in it for $54 million. You know which one I'm talking about. 150,000 square foot building. We go and we look at it. The guy says they'll take $32 million right now. I said, I'm not doing 32. He says, don't offer anything less than 28. It's offensive. I made an offer of 26. Okay? By the way, they said they walked. That same building we made an offer on 6, 7, 8 months ago. They were in the house in the building yesterday, upstairs. When you came in.
Oh, that was them?
Good. First of all, you know what Vinny does? Vinny out of everything. I'm having a serious business meeting. This guy's working on a skit. No joke. Did you hear what he did? This guy's a
Yes,
fool
he showed me the
doing
video.
that.
Yes.
He comes in with a briefcase saying, Pat, where do you want me to leave the supply they just dropped off? He opens it up. It's a bag with sugar in it that looks like cocaine. Did you understand what I just said?
He showed me the video.
Second floor is serious business, Vinny. First floor is skid.
They told me it wasn't serious, people.
Are you kidding me? That guy has $500 million of real estate he's sitting on.
You know what? Somebody in here was like, no, Vinny, go mess with Pat.
Anyways, long story short, I talked to the guy.
That's so funny.
Now the same property, they wanted 50. That went from 54 to 32. You know what they're willing to sell it right now? $20 million. So I made a $50 million offer.
50.
But here's the point.
Should they have took the 26?
They should have taken 26. I would have bought it.
Pat, did me showing up with?
By the way, when I tell you beautiful building, I mean beautiful. Tom, is it a beautiful building or
It's a beautiful office
crystal clear building, everything immaculate. But so we're going to find out what's going to happen in real estate. I'm giving you commercial real estate. I'm not telling you residential. I'm giving you strictly commercial. But we're going to see what's going to happen with real estate next 12 months. The reality is someone's going to be right. A lot of people are going to be
PBD,
right.
let me ask you a question. Okay, go ahead. Your cocaine story.
Did my fake cocaine story, like me coming in, mind you, it wasn't for you. I came in and I said to HR, I go, guys, I'm sorry to interrupt. I go, HR, a delivery from some Bolivian guy. And Rob, HR is like, get out. And Pat, at least Pat was laughing. They told me down here it wasn't like really serious.
Whoever told you check it with somebody before you walk into a business meeting. Anyways.
Can I ask you a question? Just whether it's real estate or investment, something that you always say repeatedly is, listen, if you're going to be living there 5 years or longer, 10 years or longer, it's fine, right? And something that I say, there's a difference between saving and investing. Saving is short term, whether it's 12, 24, 36 months, anything less than that, save, keep it short term. 5 years or longer, I would put it in the investment category. This goes the same for housing. How do you determine where to stack your cash, saving-wise versus investing? Is there a rule of thumb? Is there a time frame? Is there a horizon? How do you process that? Whether it's real estate, whether it's art, whether it's cash, whether it's investments, how do you? So
the guy sitting next to me yesterday is like, have you gone into NFTs yet? I said no.
Yeah.
Did you ever get into NFTs? I said no. Wait, so you're a YouTuber and you didn't get into? I said, first of all, I'm not a YouTuber. I'm a business guy. I run companies, but no, I never got into NFTs. You know how much money people made in NFTs? I'm clearly aware of the people who made the money, and I know the thousands who lost a lot of money. What's going to happen in long term? I don't know. If they deliver on their utilities, et cetera, it's a 97% of NFTs are a waste of time anyways. Then he talks about crypto. How about Bitcoin? How about this? How about that? For me, my philosophy is simple. What I know a lot about, I comfortably invest in. I will gladly deploy $5-10 million on baseball cards and not even flinch because I know what I'm buying. I know the product I'm buying. You've seen me do it over the years. So it's not like it's so I'll deploy that, no problem. Areas I'm not an expert in. Guy asked me a question yesterday saying, so what should I do to increase my rental income in the amount of properties I buy? What do you do? I said, that's the wrong Zoom because I'm not that guy. I don't know. My specialty is in real estate. My specialty isn't dealing with renters. I don't want that drama. I don't want my property manager to call me about that drama. I like to operate and build companies is what I like. When I was getting started at 21, 22 years old, and I had no clue what I was doing, I opened up a mutual fund account. And I started with $100 a month, okay? And I opened up a VUL. And I put $100 a month into it. That's when I was broke. And that money would just go. And then gradually, I would raise it from 100 to 200, to 200 to 300, 300 to 400, 500, $1,000 a month. And then one day you wake up, you're like, wait, I got $360,000 in this account. That's kind of cool. How did
That's
this
what
happen?
happened to me.
Yeah. I'd always kiss. And then you're like, okay, what can I do with this? And then you get a little bit more and more and more sophisticated because people are dealing with additional things as well. Today, when you're looking at your money, it has to do with your age. Your risk tolerance at 64 should not be the risk tolerance of a 42-year-old and shouldn't be the risk tolerance of a 22-year-old. Those things vary. Ages vary. The other part about when it comes down to this is time horizon. You got short-term, midterm, long-term. What portion of your money do you need short-term? If your daughter's getting married in 2 years and you need to be paying for that wedding and it's going to be a couple $100,000 or $100,000, you need to set that money aside because that time is coming. If kids are about to go to college and they don't have the GPA to get scholarship, you need that money to be set aside to be prepared. That's short term. Midterm, again, depends how old your kids are, depends if you're married, depends any of that stuff. And then long term. Then the last thing is with your money that you have, you sit there and you say, which portion of my money am I comfortable losing 100% of? That shouldn't be a big percentage. You could say only 5%, fine. So if your 5% is $100,000, $50,000, $20,000, $1 million, you can afford putting in risky investments that you may lose all of it, but you cannot lose sleep. So if you're the kind of a person that will lose sleep if you lose that kind of money, don't do it because it's going to mess with you. Only do it if you know your temperament. Investing is very different for different people. It's different for you than my temperament, than his temperament, than his temperament. People come to me and they say, why are you always sitting on so much cash and why are you not deploying it? Do you know how much money that's costing you? I said, that's my temperament because I'm able to invest that money. Right now, the conversation we had yesterday in the office, Tom, was it upstairs or I don't know? Yeah, it was upstairs when we're having a conversation. One conversation went from me agreeing to want to put $7 million into one project that will probably end up being a $12 million project. Another one, I'm deploying $19 million into the project of my own money. But these are things I am very, very comfortable doing because of my temperament. Don't let somebody's aggressive, big vision, big thinking temperament, working 60, 80 hours a week influence you on what you should do with your with your money when yours is more chilling out. So it's not a one, shoe fits, one size fits all. It's not. You got to kind of figure out what's for you. Okay. Let's transition to the next topic, though, because we got quite a few of them.
I just want to give a quick response. Number one, things are doing well in your life when you use the word deploy. I'm deploying this investment. Yeah. I'm deploying this.
Or you were in the military, lived in the Middle East, and those words scared.
We're deploying a several tanks.
We're deploying troops.
But we were just to your credit. We were talking last night with my good buddy, Chris, and he's talking about the restaurant industry and this and that. And I have all these franchises. And you said you could have gone any response. He gave you a whole kind of dissertation. And you go, hey, that's not me. It's just not me.
Yeah.
I could deploy $5 million for whatever. And you're just like, it's not me. The hardest thing to do when somebody's pitching you is be like, I'm good. Yeah, no, it's not for me. It's so easy to be like, oh, tell me more. This is sexy. I don't know. Can I make money? It's very hard to be like, no, it's just not my lane.
Yeah.
Stay in your lane.
By the way, and that leads me into this next story. I'm going to go to page number 9 story, okay, which is scientists are working on COVID vaccine you can drink.
Finally.
Okay? You can drink, okay?
Finally.
So let me read this to you. A new type of vaccine, this is a CNET story, a new type of vaccine called mucosal vaccines, which can be taken as a swish and swallow oral vaccine or nasal vaccine, is being developed and could be available within a couple years. The QYNDR, as if we need another acronym to remember, oral vaccine developed by the U.S. Specialty Formulations has completed its phase 1 clinical trial and is waiting on funding to proceed to more advanced trials. The vaccine is designed to survive the digestive system and induce the appropriate response. The clinical trial results from New Zealand are promising and offer hope that the vaccine will be a viable option for protection against the current COVID-19 variants. However, in order to get the vaccine to be advanced to additional clinical trials, funding from investors is needed. Okay, so if you guys wanting to invest, this is the story from CNET. You can go look into it. When you hear something like this, what do you think about? For me, if this is a business model, like CBD, okay, or THC, or you say, so now what are we doing? Let's talk about it from strictly the business model standpoint on what Pfizer's doing, what these guys are doing. I don't smoke weed. I probably should, but I don't smoke weed. Okay,
It'd be fun to watch.
I don't drink coffee. Thank God I don't.
Yeah.
Okay, you don't want me to drink coffee. I shouldn't drink Red Bull, Monster. What else is there? Any of that stuff? Don't get it close to me. Okay. One time we tested my urine, and they said this is the closest thing to Red Bull. Is what they said. That's a joke. It's not.
You don't need more.
But
taurine.
I don't need any of it, right?
Yeah.
But weed is a different story. Okay. Yeah. So, anyways, this guy's like, well, we're selling weed oil now. Cool. Hey, this guy says, you're having lower back pains? Try the CBD oil to put on your lower back. Like, so does that mean my back is getting high?
Yes.
What does it mean?
Your
right?
spine.
Hey, if you're try these gummy bears, okay, or try these cookies, or try this, right? Anyways, what's the point? If it's legal, and you're finding creative ways for people to be able to buy that, guess what? Credit goes to who? To the team,
the seller
that is getting creative.
Yeah.
So if vaccine is one method, is what? Shot. And they wanting to go on this side from the standpoint of innovation on how to get it into the system, fine.
Yeah.
You can tell them, good for the team that thought about this. Now, the other thing you have to pose and ask the question is level of trust, how comfortable people are about it. Is it something where the timing is good right now to announce it? Is it becoming to the point where everybody is in the camp of, yes, I'll take it? I don't know. What are your thoughts? What are your thoughts when you hear this?
I think the fact, and from what we saw, that they scared.
Andres, I don't think I've ever said this. Please raise Vinny's audio by about 5%.
Are
Go
you
ahead.
serious? That's the first
time
Did you
I've ever
guys
said
hear
this.
that?
He lowered it by 10%
Finally.
when you were yelling
Keep
about
going.
your
I don't yell.
drug deal.
But Pat, think about it. And as a business standpoint, what they did with Fauci and everybody
That's
in the
good.
government, they scared the shit out of everybody.
Yeah.
So we all know these type of people that like another booster. Give it to me. Give it to me. Give it to me. I give them props because now they have their loyal brainwashed customers. Now just another delivery system, like you said. If they say there's a vaccine shampoo, I guarantee you people will just the more the better. And as we're finding out, Pat, the science hasn't been tested long enough to find out if it's gonna affect you, which I think we're seeing that people are dropping left and right. They don't give a shit. Just give them more, give them more. I give them props as the seller, but as the people need to still wake the hell up.
Tom, what are you thinking?
Well, there's two things I see here. I see a startup business in biotech that's talking about clinical trials, advanced trials.
Yep.
In other words, not Operation Warp Speed, doing something over the course of time that medications and vaccines have been tested in history, not this BS acceleration that we had along with amnesty for the vaccine makers. I see that on one side. The other side, I see a glaring hole in this business model. If I was an investor, I'm sitting there, I would say, so you think there's going to be a long-term market for COVID vaccines? So you think COVID is here to stay and all the mutations are here to stay. You think there's a long-term market. And I would be sitting there thinking there saying, wow, if there's really a long-term market for this, then unlike swine flu went, bird flu won, remember HV, whatever it was, bird flu, it kind of came and went because there was it ran the cycle. It ran the human cycle. And what have we heard about swine flu, bird flu out of Southeast Asia over the last 4
avian
years?
flu, yeah.
Gone.
Yep.
It's not gone, but we don't hear about it anymore because it is not affecting the mass of society. So I look at this and I say, so there's really going to be a long-term market on COVID. Are we the lab rats? Is somebody out there mutating this and so that they can sell product?
We're finding out that they are, though.
Last night we're sitting at this wonderful event with Adam, and so sitting across this guy who was a follower of the podcast, great guy, 37 years old, successful guy, solid guy, good-looking guy. And he says, Patrick, 99% of what you say, I sit there and I say, yup, I agree. Yeah, he's probably listening. Yup, I agree. Yup, I agree. But there's the one part where you're not for DMTs and not for psychedelics and all this stuff. I'm like, dude, we got to get Patrick on psychedelics. I remember I've never been a drug guy, never smoked weed, never did this, never did that. 34 years old, I went through a bad breakup. First time I did, psychedelics, it was life-changing for me. I said, that's awesome, man. Very happy for you. So then the guy to my left is like, your personality, I know. You probably would never do psychedelics, but maybe you would. So I'm like, okay, here we go. So now I'm invited to a party where everybody wants to get me to do psychedelics. Okay,
Great,
fantastic. Another a great party that everybody wants me to do something. So then this girl shows up. Hi.
Two eyes.
So look, we're trying to get Patrick to do psychedelics. So why don't you try psychedelics?
Yeah.
She says, do you follow science? I said, define that.
Fauci.
By the way, no. She literally says, do you follow science?
Yeah.
I said, can you define that? Because it's been a little bit confusing lately.
Yeah.
She says, no, science. I said, well, if I have to trust the science, that means I have to take vaccine. And no, I don't trust that science. But what do you mean by science? She says, well, let me ask you a different question then. Do you trust the FDA? No. She says, what do you believe in?
What do you
I
believe
said, so what do you believe in? She says, no, I'm asking you the question. I said, no, I want to know what you believe in. Well, I believe in spirits collide, and I believe in, certain, what'd she say? She said some stuff like this, like, and that energy, if I can have my energy, I can give it to you. I said, I agree with that. And I'm saying, so I agree with that. She says, so now I'm going to ask the question, what do you believe in? I said, I believe in God. I believe in good relationships. I believe in never compromising your values and principles that fully believe in, your convictions. Don't convince everybody to buy into your vision. Not everybody's going to understand your vision. And then she says, well, she says, so you would never, you would probably never do. She says, what if I bring you an expert that gives you all the data and all the articles, all of it, that proves that psychedelics are good for you? I said, I'd love to have him debate somebody who's a doctor and a scientist who has articles that scientist is not showing that opposes why psychedelics maybe aren't good for you. And then I would listen to that debate and I would make up my mind at the end. She said, you just sound closed-minded.
Oh, God.
And then Adam asks a question and says, so tell me about you. Adam's trying to be his sweet self. So he says, so tell me about yourself. So are you married? Do you have kids? Or I don't know what you asked. Are you married? Yeah. She says, you would never ask a man that question. And then Adam says, I actually would.
Ask it all the time.
And Adam says, why are you so defensive?
Yeah.
So she is now turning red.
Oh, God.
So I'm talking to my boy here. I'm having a really good time with this guy because we're talking about trying to figure people's personalities based on when they're born.
Psychedelic guy? Or
this guy's a chill guy.
Yeah.
He's a guy with Deepak's team for 26 years.
Chopra team.
Really enjoying him. He's half Persian, half Venezuelan, half all this stuff. Literally.
Sweet guy.
And sweet guy.
Sweet guy.
Great conversation. And I'm getting up. I'm like, okay, Adam, I'm going to take off, man. I'm going to go home. She says, oh, I'm so sorry. Did I say? I said, no. Yeah, I said, listen, my life is too great for you to upset me. Thank you so much. It was great talking to you. I'm going to take off. And the entire time was like trying to now redeem herself from this high quality. Here's the point. She seemed like a sweetheart. She's just been fed because she's from, what was she, Maryland, venture capital. She traveled 6 months, all this other stuff, right? In that world, you trust science. In the world and the life I've lived, you trust debate. You trust people debating because if you've lived my life, that's what I trust. I trust two experts who are 100% convinced they're right. Let them hash it out. Well, one of the things I said last night, I don't know if you remember this, I said, you know what we've learned the last 2.5 years? She said, what? I said, experts using data have forced all of us to believe in what they're believing in. And they've divided the world. So I don't trust experts that use certain data they want to choose to validate their arguments. I kind of want to see both sides. I like debate. And then there was done with discussion. We moved on. And
was she good looking? Was she at least good looking?
She's doing okay.
She was all right.
Well, I'll tell one story and then I'll circle back to what you were saying back to the drugs and the sampling and all that. So there's this, it's sort of, if you're at a nice dinner, it's like a very exclusive type of situation. You're not trying to offend people, but there's this like contentiousness. And I don't know how it got directed at Pat. What do you believe in? No, what do you believe in? I'll tell you, I say, you know what I believe in? Let me tell you what I believe in. She goes, okay, go ahead. I go, I believe that the children are the future.
and by the way, I say the next line.
I'm like, you gotta teach them well.
Let them lead
and
the
let
way.
them lead the way.
She
not
doesn't
you.
get it.
She doesn't
She's
get
like,
it. Oh,
okay.
then forget
She
it.
doesn't,
She's
and we
like, yeah.
keep going.
I'm like, because
And I
what you
said-
have to do.
Oh, I love you guys.
You have to show them all the
That's
beauty
so
they
fucking-
possess inside.
Give
She's
them a
like,
sense of pride.
She gotta get
To make it easier, right?
how it used to be.
Oh my
Right?
God.
She's like, yeah. I was like, no, I'm kidding.
You guys, why'd you break? I would have kept going.
No, we didn't break.
We didn't.
Oh
we kept
my-
going.
The guy to the left got it.
Oh, it's beautiful.
She's
What a
still like-
moment.
And I'm like,
I was
this
so
is
there.
God. And the guy says, did you guys get that from ChatGPT?
That's so freaking funny.
Mr. Randy Watson, by the
Mr.
way.
Randy
So,
Watson.
but back to how the conversation initially started, they're pitching Pat. And I said this. I said, look, if the options are psychedelics and marijuana, as an example, versus pills and alcohol for people who are suffering with depression. What do they get in the military after?
Anxiety.
PTSD.
PTSD. I'm 100% advocate of that. But I go that there's certain people that just don't need anything. And then Pat said something very amazing. He said, I believe, this is not a song, he says, I believe that if a lion could speak, you would not understand what they were saying. I mean, I'll let you kind of explain this. But there's some people that don't need any extra stuff in their system. They just got it. They wake up, like, for instance, I need some coffee in my life.
Yeah.
Every once in a while, I need a drink. I need to smoke a J, whatever. I need a little something.
Yeah.
Pat needs none of that. If a lion could speak, you would not understand them. Explain what you were saying with that.
All I said is I think the right person in your life is just as effective, if not 10 times more effective than any psychedelic.
Yep.
Because the right person in your life is going to get you to question things and get clear in your life and confidence and realize it's not that big of a deal, or maybe it is. Part of it is your responsibility, but we're not perfect. We got to move on. This is a chance for you to redeem yourself, have some respect for yourself, the other person. Let's see what we can do. The right person can get you to really. You're laughing because it looks like you got a joke prepared.
No, it's not a joke. But and I want to know what the chat thinks. What the chat thinks about this. Why don't if they would like this, Pat? We have a shaman come in here for one podcast. They get us all on ayahuasca. I'm talking about Tom, Pat, and just what kind of podcast, Pat, where we're all like crying and laughing. Pat's like, I
Vinny,
love you.
I'm in.
I would do it.
You got to convince these two guys.
I would do it. We'd have a bucket.
The
of
lion
coffee
right here and
a
Bizdoc.
shaman walking around for 2 hours.
I'll fund it. How about I fund
Oh
it?
my God. They would love it.
Anyway,
The chat.
We still need you to bring in the liver,
Okay.
but
By the
I
way,
got you.
here's a question.
Did
First
you
of all,
get her together with the psychedelic guy so maybe they could go off for the evening?
well, she did. Yeah, I think she was dating that guy, the 3-point shooter. I think. I don't know the way.
No,
they
no,
kinda,
no.
You're positive?
No.
For sure.
For sure.
Okay, because he's a very good-looking guy. You know, he's
Which guy?
Well, the guy that's a 3-point shooter, I like him too.
My boy Jared. Yeah.
I think he's a very good-looking guy.
No, he's not dating her.
Okay, anyway, so it ended. We left. It was good. We had the food was good. I had a chance to meet your buddy Chris Humphreys, which out of the whole highlight of the event was meeting your friend Chris, which was seeing your connection with him. That part was fantastic.
That was cool.
Anyways, hey, side note, did you guys watch the movie The Judge?
I haven't seen it yet.
Vinny,
I swear to God.
did you watch
I was
the
with
movie
you.
The Judge? Rob, did you watch
You
The Judge?
recommended it to our friend Brian
I'm gonna tell you this
Callen
right
the
now.
other day.
If you don't watch it by Sunday, you're not doing podcast next week.
I promise
Telling
you,
you right
I
now.
swear to God, I'll watch it.
I'm telling you, if you don't watch it, I'm not doing podcast.
I'm watching
we
it on
cancel
Sunday.
everything.
I'm watching it on Sunday. I
Do you know
promise.
how many people messaged me telling me I understood what you meant? I was in tears, crying, watching The Judge. You got to watch it.
I promise.
We got to check to see if Brian
Friday
watched
night.
The Judge.
I promise.
Friday night, I'm watching.
Yeah, you and your girl watch
Yeah.
it together.
I
I'm
promise.
telling you,
Done.
you're going to
You're
cry
gonna
in
cry?
front of her.
All right.
Okay? I'll tell you when you do that. Anyways, everyone, you have homework this weekend. Watch The Flippin' Judge. By the way, don't use flippin' in it. It's just The Judge. If you type in flippin', you're not going to find it. Okay. Next story. Did you guys see what Ken from Citadel said when he was being interviewed about SBF? Do you have that video or no? Do you have that video? Rob, do you know which one I think I texted it to you.
Let me find it.
Very, very
And
interesting.
who is this, Pat?
So who is this guy? Are you kidding me? This is the guy that made the most money last year. $16 billion he made last year.
Doing what?
Doing what? He's the CEO of Citadel. Okay,
Ken Griffin?
Ken Griffin made
Ken Griffin.
$16 billion last year.
What do you mean last year made $16 billion?
That's
It's
correct.
exactly what I just told
That's
you.
the
He made $16
financial
billion last year.
markets spin. It's Ken Griffin's hand.
I just texted it to you. I just texted it to
Wow.
you, the video.
And he moved to Miami
But I
recently?
want you to watch. Pause it first, and you have to do it in a way where you start from the beginning. So refresh and figure out a way to pause and get the audio because it's tricky when you're dealing with Instagram. Okay, it's fine. Okay, you got it. Don't play it yet, but watch this. So he's being interviewed by a person who all of a sudden gets very, very uncomfortable when he says this. That was fine. Tom, have you seen this? What he says or no?
I've read about it. I have not seen it end to end.
So Tom, can you the level of credibility with Ken Griffin is what? How successful of a guy is he at what he does?
In terms of Wall Street and the bond market and international finance, his credibility is like an 11.
Okay,
Oh,
meaning
wow.
no.
He's the guy.
The heavy, and by the way, he just moved to Florida.
Yeah. Okay.
He bought a land in Miami at like the main place, and he's building out his own, headquarters buildings there. So he's a stud. I think he moved here from Illinois. By the way, watch what he says. Watch what he says, and more importantly, watch the reaction of the interviewer. Go ahead.
Okay.
That all of us are worried about. On the balance sheet of FTX is a line called Trump lose. And Sam was the second biggest donor to Democratic candidates.
I'm going to leave it to everybody else to draw their own conclusions about what you're saying here.
Right? Those are really, really ugly facts when you see a fraud of this magnitude having played out, and you find no regulators were there to prevent it. That's a really, really tough story.
We could talk for quite a while about FTX. Sadly, we don't have it.
Yeah.
So I have to finish.
That all
A Democrat. Well,
Moving on right now.
Yeah.
Nothing to see
Dude,
here.
Did you see how uncomfortable was that silence?
Balance sheet, Tom. Trump lose.
Trump.
That was a coin? What was that?
Meaning the money they used to donate to different places
was for Trump to lose.
So this fund here, $20 million, this much money here, this money is used to help Trump lose.
Holy shit! Wow. Bro.
That to me, on this again, I'll play the moderator here. I don't know much about this. That to me is not that shocking. That there's people in that space that want to see Trump lose. I mean, after all, what was the Lincoln Project was built to see Trump lose, but the fact that it was fraudulent money is the real scam. Is that it was just fake money and they're donating it to the Democratic Party for sham, agendas.
May I?
Obviously, we know that we want Trump to lose. Yes,
may,
Tom, you can go now.
You may.
Okay. It was real money that belonged to investors. This is frickin' Ponzi that got redirected to Alameda.
Which is the big difference between Lincoln Project and this. Keep going.
Yeah.
Right. And so I just want to correct what you said, not correct you personally, but what you said was this was fraud money. No, they didn't invent the money. This was investor money from massive family offices and investors that put it in there and trusted this guy on this whole FTX premise. He moves it to Alameda, and then it gets filtered out to these campaigns. He was propping up, SBF was propping up SBF, and then he was using
FTX.
FTX to make donations to political campaigns and to charities. Mm-hmm. This is real money that real people lost, just like Bernie Madoff. And what he's talking about is behind Griffin's comments is just the depth of the fraud and what was really going on here. So it's not just a fraud; it was an election fraud. It's not just a startup CEO with a bad moral compass. This was deep frauds, and that was Ken Griffin's silence while he was sitting there.
What do you mean election fraud? You said it was election fraud.
Okay, so you set up an entity in the Bahamas, and then you're making donations beyond federal maximums to individual campaigns. Maxine Waters, you find the video of her on the floor of the House of Representatives blowing him kisses. You're a savior. Come on. I mean, they knew what was going on.
For the midterms, you're saying.
Exactly.
Let me show another clip of this guy. I mean, that you see what's going on. Look, he's not the first guy and won't be the last guy, okay? But I just want you to hear, like, the tone, okay? Rob, if you can play this clip here. Somebody send this to me. I just send it to you. While you're doing this, let's just kind of talk about the if you have it. I don't know if you have it. If I texted it to you, Rob.
It hasn't come through yet.
Really? I just texted it to you.
I mean, say what you want, bro. The Democrats are gangster, bro. They don't play. They do their work, bro.
What do you mean? What do you mean?
I'm just saying, like, think about now that it's all these years later, Trump, the amount of enemies in the shadows, in the face, the media, bro. This guy didn't have a chance. Like, I mean, he won on his own merit. And then think about from the Russia collusion to this to the impeachment. And say what you want to do. The Democrats, they fall on the sword, bro. They go down with the ship. Look at everything that we're finding out that they're doing from the shady money, from Hillary paying for the false information, and none of them get in trouble. None of them get in trouble.
Did you see that they removed Adam Schiff? They removed
and Swalwell.
They removed Swalwell, and then they're all complaining about the fact that this is not fair. You shouldn't do this. All this other stuff.
And McCarthy
right?
went at them, Pat.
Yeah.
McCarthy shut down all the reporters.
I want you to watch this guy. Watch this guy. And tell me what you think about a guy like this. Okay? Yeah, there you go.
People are stupid, and they're really stupid, okay? I mean, just being honest, right? So the other day, I'm sleeping on my beanbag in my office, and, like, one of the cleaning people comes by, and she's like, hey, I hear you're a big CEO. And I was like, shut the up, is what I told her. Because I'm like, who are you? I don't need, I'm not looking for the help. Like, maybe I'll donate money to you, you And, you know, she kind of like took that weird, and she told me, like, you know, I'm a guest here. And I said, you know, I was like, I could buy your family like 300 million times over, okay? And I'd still be a billionaire. Most people are
Is that really him? Is that really his voice?
Yeah, that's his voice.
Oh my! I thought that was a character of like a really annoying person.
But you know what? You believe that for a person to look at everybody as I own them. I can buy you. I can do this. I can do that. I can do that. Great. But you know, this is the amount of fraud that's going on within SBF. And then the other day was it on Cheddar when they called out Kevin O'Leary and the guy says, you know, how did you go from being the person that was anti-Bitcoin, you were like Charlie Munger, everything about that was anti-Bitcoin, and then all of a sudden you turn into this guy that's, you know, fully Bitcoin, and you know, it's the way to go. And how did that happen?
That was a CNBC interview, and that was Andrew Ross Sorkin that called him out. Well, wait a minute, you just said 2018.
Have you seen this?
But in 2019,
so this whole, I just sent it to you. This whole thing here with what's going on with FTX and who's involved. Look, there are certain people that took sponsorship money. There is risk when you take sponsorship money. Okay, there truly is risk. But then there's people that were bought. Okay, when you do sponsorship money, you have to find out what the product is. Okay, and if you have a track record of saying yes to 100% of a product that is being sent your way, guess what that means? You're not endorsing anybody. You're simply taking money.
Got you.
If you get 10 people that come your way and say, hey, we'd like to be your sponsor, the right number is around 70 to 80% of them should be turned down. You shouldn't just take money from everybody. Watch what these guys, by the way, phenomenal job to both of them. Look what they do to Kevin O'Leary. Just watch. It's painful to brace for impact.
All right.
Singing the blues right now at all.
Oh, yes, I'm singing the blues.
Why? Because your $15 million didn't pan out? That's a lot of money to be a paid spokesperson. It's a lot of money. You didn't have to do much for that. That's found money,
That's a different decision. That's a different discussion.
Okay.
You can make that decision on your own, but I'm going to this point
found money.
that if
That's
you
like
want to say he's guilty before he's tried, I just don't understand it.
But you went from Charlie Munger's view on Bitcoin to Michael Saylor's view on Bitcoin. And I actually kidded you about it. I said, who are you? You may know nothing, but you're never in doubt. You're so strident when you said it was just worthless and rat poison. And then 6 months later, you're like this Bitcoin bull. So I didn't understand that conversion. Did that conversion coincide with the $15 million that you got from FTX?
Did you hear that?
Yeah.
No, I was investing 3.5 years earlier than that. I changed my mind back in early 2018 when I saw the regulators in jurisdictions like Canada, Switzerland, and Abu Dhabi start to change their minds.
I got to stop you. Stop you. You just said you made this conversion in what year?
I think it was 2018 I started investing, yeah.
Okay, well, I just as a point of fact, for what it's worth, May 14th, 2019, you came on television and called Bitcoin garbage.
It is a useless currency. It is a useless currency. That's what I believe.
I don't think you should be.
By the way, did you catch all of that?
Yes.
Love it. Yep. Putting their foot to the fire. Good for them.
So, by the way, shout out to Joe Kernan and Andrew Ross Sorkin, who host the Morning Bell on CNBC. Squawk Box, I believe, is what it is. I mean, look, they have. You know how awkward it is to have someone that maybe you consider a friend, a colleague, an investor, Kevin O'Leary, and call him out straight to his face.
Good, there needs more of that.
That's credibility right there. And the reality is, it's like those are questions that you should answer, Kevin O'Leary. He's like, 2018, I became a believer in Bitcoin. It's like, well, let's just check the tail of the tape here. In 2019, you called it a scam and trash. It's like
garbage.
How does that add up? Garbage. I don't know. Not a good look for Kevin O'Leary, Mr. Wonderful.
It's not, but he got $15 million for it. Again, this is a perfect example. You can't say yes to everybody. These guys came up to me wanting me to do what is a Manscaped, right? Mm-hmm. And they say, hey, we'll pay this, and then we'll pay this, and I'm like, dude, I'm not getting up there talking about go shave you. I'm not doing it. No, but everybody, I don't care. I'm not doing it. So number one, I'm not doing it. First of all, that's not even a big deal. Right?
Mm-hmm. No.
Hey, this casino site, Pat, we're willing to pay $500,000 to do sponsorship and drive it to our gambling website.
You don't gamble.
First of all, do you realize? Imagine the audience. I want you to kind of watch this. The audience watching me say the following.
Yeah.
So look, if you're like me and you bet on games, use. First of all, yeah, but that your bot. Now, if you protect the word, and by the way, let me make a very simple prediction to you. We have some people we're doing sponsorships with. You know who they are: Goldco, Masterworks. We have a few companies, Aura, Udemy. Some of these guys we're doing partnerships with. They could still screw up in the future. But as of right now, we feel very confident about what they're doing. It's very clear. We feel confident endorsing having these companies being used because we feel confident about what they're doing today. There's a massive risk if you can just be bought with a check. And by the way, you just watch SBF saying, I can own you, and you just watch Kevin O'Leary. SBF is right. Mm-hmm. He just did.
Yep.
To a very powerful man
100%.
who runs Shark Tank, meaning he is the main talent of that show. It's not anybody else. He's not the richest. Mark Cuban's the richest.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And Mark Cuban's the sharpest. But Kevin O'Leary is the one that's the most well-rounded entertainer, shit talker, pushes the envelope. He draws people into that show.
Is there any legal
He's the main guy.
ramifications, Pat, for somebody?
I don't think there should be.
You shouldn't for somebody going,
No.
I'm all in, even though they kind of know.
I don't think he should be held accountable. I don't think there's any no,
Nothing,
not at all.
nothing, that's not my
I
point.
don't think there's anything you can do to Kevin O'Leary because realistically, he didn't do anything wrong. He took money and he said, this is a company to use. It's on the judgment of the individual that trusted him and says, this is a guy that's telling me. The individual should have said, how the hell do you go from hating Bitcoin, trashing Bitcoin? I remember one time Pompliano was on a show with one of these things, and him and Pompliano are going at it, and Pompliano's selling, he's a Maximilian.
Maximus.
Yeah.
Maximalist.
He's not as much as before, but they're going at it. And this is garbage. This is this is that. So if you watched him go like that and then sudden flip, well, the person that invested is also taking that risk that, how did you all of a sudden think that person's going to flip this quickly?
Yeah.
So anyways, that's on the individual. I don't think it's on Kevin O'Leary at all.
By the way, because it's a slippery slope. It's like, all right, Kevin Leary, he's a financier, investor. He's on Shark Tank. He's on CNBC. All right, he took money. But then you got Tom Brady. Then you got Steph Curry.
Of course.
Matt Damon did some crypto.com. So, where does it go? At the end of the day, I don't think they should be held accountable, but their brand and their image is going to take a hit. Yeah. And to sing your praises, number one, I use Manscaped. I think I keep things real clean. Shout out to Manscaped. But how many times, because at one point in 2020, I was kind of handling some of the sponsorship stuff here, and they pitched me to pitch you on the gambling stuff. I said, I don't even want to bring this to Pat because I already think he's going to say no. And by the way, my entire brand is save that money, invest your time, don't spend your time on useless stuff. I'm like, I don't feel comfortable doing gambling stuff. And I know Pat's not going to do. But to your credit, how much stuff do you get pitched and you're like, no,
money that they're willing to pay to say,
insane.
Are you kidding me? We can't do it. But again, no, there's a lot of small YouTubers that need the sponsorships. Totally get it. Mm-hmm. There's a lot of small guys that get started that you get a sponsorship, $200, $400. If you gamble, great. It's part of your brand. But make sure whatever you're doing with sponsorship is something that matches your brand, no matter how much people pay you. But if they pay you, you take it. There's the risk that if it flips, your name's on the line.
Real quick,
yeah.
There's a difference between short-term and long-term. Short-term is quick, fast money savings that you were talking about. Long-term is investing. It's so easy to take the short-term money.
Yeah.
A lot harder to invest in yourself and invest in your brand for your image.
So it's safe
long-term.
to say that because you're a Manscaped, everything's clean and you're
things are
shiny.
Good. Things are looking good.
Well, good for you. Congratulations.
I can hook you up if you
hook it up. No, I'm at least.
How about broker a deal? You give him liver, you give him Manscaped.
Deal. By the way, I would love to see
don't
the
go
Biz
that.
Doc do a Manscaped commercial. You know me, it's the Biz Doc here.
Yeah.
Keep things real clean.
Let's go to the next story. Trump.
And moving on real quick. Nothing to see here.
Let's go. Come on.
Donald J. Trump to be allowed back on Facebook and Instagram. So here's a question for you. A couple months ago, he first is back on Twitter. Now Facebook and Instagram let him back on, which when they say Facebook and Instagram, really what they're saying is Facebook, because Facebook owns Instagram. So the last one that hasn't said it yet is who? Is YouTube. And I don't even know if he's on LinkedIn or not, but YouTube is the only one that's left to let him back on. The question I got for you is, why are the top 3 most traffic websites, social media companies, 3 out of the 5, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, why are they bringing him back on at a time like this? Is it one, they're sick and tired of Biden and they just want this guy to come in? Is it two, they're afraid that McCarthy is about to go out there and investigate the hell out of them? So before doing that, they're already letting them loose 2 weeks after McCarthy wins Speaker of the House. Oh, shit. You know what? Just to be nice and play nice, let's let Trump back on Facebook and Instagram. Is that two? Or three, it's just about time for us to let him back on.
It's business, Pat. Just like you said with the vaccine, they're putting it in a drink right now. They know, it's coming. He's going to announce, he already announced he's going to be running for president. You know how much traffic is going to be on their sites
you think
when
so?
he's posting? 100%.
That's why it is?
100%. He's going to be on Instagram. He's going to be on Facebook because they're connected, right?
Tom, what do you
think? He's going to be all over it.
I think what's going on below the surface is Operation BID, B-I-D, Biden Investigations DeSantis. Facebook is worried about the investigations with McCarthy. I think you're absolutely right. They want nothing to do with a chair on Capitol Hill asking questions. They also, I believe, are fearing DeSantis the more these polls come out, although there were some polls this week that showed Trump was doing much better. And I think it was not the establishment's desire for Biden to come out and say, I've talked to my wife, Jill and I, we're absolutely running. Remember, that was kind of impromptu. It was kind of off microphone, impromptu. That was not set up. That was not a big announcement. I think there are people in the Democrat machine were like, the DNC were like, doggone it. He's not supposed to do that. And I think that the machine wants him not to run. Tech was worried about investigations. And also they're worried about DeSantis. Well, what better way to help neutralize DeSantis than to foment conflict at the RNC level? The easiest way to do that, let the orange man back onto Twitter, let him back onto Facebook, and let the dust kick up on the dispute.
I think sometimes, by the way, I think all of you guys have some credibility with your stories, right? And it's easy to go, what you did, BIS, I think it's a BID. I think sometimes there's these rabbit hole stories we can go down. A lot of them have some truthiness to them. Sometimes it's in plain sight. 2 years ago and 2 weeks to the day, there was January 6th insurrection, how this whole thing started of banning Donald Trump. And they put a 2-year ban on Donald Trump. Voila, it's 2 years later. And sometimes it's just as easy as plain sight saying, well, it's been 2 years, we banned him for 2 years, and it's time to put him back on. Now, I do think there's a lot of credibility behind there. Like, there's nuanced discussions. What happens if we bring him on? DeSantis, Biden, investigate. I think all that is credible. But I think the major factor is it's reached the 2-year mark, and it's time to reconsider having him on.
Has he tweeted? He still hasn't tweeted.
No.
So that's just people.
I love how simple you think this is on what they're doing with this, letting back on. I think there's a lot of strategy behind what's going on. I think Twitter was just letting back on. I don't think there was anything with Twitter. I think, Musk is like sitting there saying, look, I'd love to have the MAGA crowd back on Twitter. That's traffic. That'll increase the valuation of the company. I'm all in. I think to Musk is truly, let's get the guy back onto business, right? Okay. And he's waiting for this, right? Come on, tweet something. By the way, the moment Trump tweets, it'll be the most liked tweet in the history of Twitter. The moment he tweets, it's going to happen. And they're saying he's about to, by the way.
Oh, really?
His camp is saying he's about to, okay? Facebook and Instagram is slightly different on why you let him back on. Could it be ad money? Because ad money is taking a massive hit with Facebook. They're having a hard time with that. And they know if Trump runs that campaign, they're going to spend a lot of ad money on Facebook. And the one that was a machine last time was Facebook. More than YouTube, more than Twitter, more than everybody, it was Facebook. Facebook was the machine that helps with elections. So they want that money. And that's a lot of money that goes to Facebook, right? That could be one side. The other part is, they may want him to come in to make it dirtier against DeSantis, because he is going to go against DeSantis, where it could be a civil war, where it could be them going against each other, and they like that. They want that. Remember, when you think about your opponent, never underestimate your opponent and how strategic, how manipulative they could be. The Dems lead the game in manipulation, in propaganda, in creating stories, facades,
information, all that.
Very, very
Gangsters.
Antifa is going around destroying, rioting, fires, buildings.
Peaceful. You mean peaceful?
CNN headquarters. But then people are protesting at, what do you call it? January 6th. This is an insurrection. This is this. And then the guy on TV says, I love the fact that they're using violent with Antifa. Just because you're destroying property, that doesn't mean it's violent. Violence is when it's towards other human beings. Do you understand? Like they're processing on how they're, and how many people have died with these Antifa protests? They're walking around with guns and riots. And how many people died with the January 6th protesting? Listen, if you put data to data together, but what was turned into a massive event, historic, the single worst event ever, worse than 9/11, worse, what are you talking about, right? But this right here, leave them alone. These people are upset.
Yeah.
Ask why they're doing this. So they get credit for games. They get credit for that. The one company that we're not talking about right now that we should, notice how Facebook allows Trump back on Instagram and Facebook and Twitter, but then Google gets crushed this week, okay? I don't know if you saw the story with Google. They get crushed. Cover of Wall Street Journal, main story, the government is suing Google for the second time in 2.5 years, and they're going after them to wanting them to split up, okay? You know, their ad revenue a couple years ago, they were number one at $34 billion or whatever, and then they're at $21 billion right now. They're behind, I believe, TikTok and Amazon, or TikTok and Amazon is catching up to them, but they're saying, hey, it's manipulation, it's gamesmanship, not the right way of doing this. You're listening to what people are doing, so they want to divide those guys up. So maybe Google comes out in the next week or two and says, hey, we're letting Trump back on YouTube because they also want Kevin McCarthy and their camp to take it easy on them. So all of this stuff is very, seems very like, it's just day-to-day business as usual. I don't think it is.
And on Google, I'll add one quick point. The attorney generals for the state of New York and the state of California have joined the feds in their suit.
Well, here.
Connect the dots on that. Isn't that crazy?
New York and California.
New York and California attorney generals have joined the federal suit.
Interesting.
If you want,
Isn't that interesting?
I'll read the
Very
story.
much.
Behind the scenes,
Very
somebody's
much so.
upset, huh?
Yeah.
Here you go. New York Times story right here. U.S. accuses Google of abusing monopoly in
Ad power.
ad technology. The DOJ and 8 states have filed an antitrust lawsuit against Google, accusing it of illegally abusing a monopoly over the technology that powers online advertising. It is the first such lawsuit against the tech giant under President Biden, and an escalation in legal pressure on one of the world's biggest internet companies.
These are the states, by the way. It's I'm looking at the lawsuit right now. It's 153 pages. It's the U.S. government, U.S. Department of Justice, Commonwealth of Virginia, State of California, State of Colorado, State of Connecticut, State of Jersey, State of New York, State of Rhode Island, State of Tennessee.
Jeez.
Outside of Tennessee, those are all blue states.
It's exactly. I was about to say, why is Tennessee in there? So Tennessee's also getting involved.
The lawsuit says Google's has, quote unquote, corrupted legitimate competition. There's our favorite word, competition, in the ad tech industry by engaging in systematic campaign to seize control of the wide swath of high-tech tools used by publishers, advertisers, and brokers to facilitate digital advertising. What was the number that constitutes a monopoly? Was it 60%?
64% or 60%.
What's the number? Can you Google that real quick? What makes a monopoly?
Yeah.
Is it 64?
We're about to find that out.
That's not that crazy, huh?
64% of the market share?
And I think last year, didn't Google
say
write
50%,
a check
but I
for
don't
Is it
$4
over
billion
50? It's definitely
to
over
you?
50, right? What's the number?
At what percentage does it become a monopoly? I don't know why.
By the way, while you're saying this, the lawsuit, DOJ has asked the U.S. District Court of Eastern District of Virginia to, here it is, force Google to sell much of its suite of ad technology products and to stop the company from engaging in allegedly anti-competitive practices.
Well, when they bought DoubleClick and they rolled it into AdSense, it basically, there was really any ad agency in America, there was really only one place to go.
Yeah, they had a monopoly for a minute. They don't anymore like they did before, though, but they're still being targeted. So
that's correct.
Again, a lot of these decisions are being made right after midterms, knowing that they lost House. And by the way, I love the fact that the other day Robert Reich comes out and says, so, you know, House, what are you now going to do about what's going on with guns and with unemployment and with minimum wage. I'm like, dude, for 2 years, 2.5 years, you had House, you had Senate, and you had the White House. You didn't do shit. So what the hell are you talking about, bro? Mm-hmm. What are you talking about? So again, that's the gamesmanship that is so good on what's done on the other side. You have to give the level of manipulation that they do. You got to give them credit. You got to give them credit.
I always do. You
can't underestimate the power of what those guys do on that side. Okay. Next story. We got biggest pay raises went to black workers, young people, and low-wage earners, according to Wall Street Journal. Black workers, young workers, and low-income earners saw the largest pay increases in 2022 due to a tight labor market and high inflation. Median weekly earnings for all workers were 7.4% high year over year at the end of 2022. The median raise for black Americans was 11.3%, and weekly pay workers between 16 to 24 years old rose by 10%. The bottom 10% of wage earners saw a pay increase of 10%. These pay increases were a welcome relief for those groups who have experienced decades of pain in the labor market. However, wage gains and broader inflation has begun to cool, and job losses are forecasted for 2023. The rate of raises between workers 16 to 24 and other age groups widened in 2022. White and Asian workers continue to earn more than any other racial groups. Okay. Any thoughts on this article, Tom?
Well, first of all, it certainly goes against the narrative, doesn't it? Evil corporations don't do anything for anybody. And while you can look back at inflation, you can look at inflation over time and say, wow, it should be higher, it should be this. This seems to be a positive point of progress. That's what I see here. I see a positive point of progress. More progress needs to be done. Things still have to, I think, move forward. But to say that, what you're led to believe by mainstream media is that evil corporations are keeping wages down, they're doing this and this and this, and yet there's data points that are coming out here that says some of the people that most needed raises, especially during inflation, actually receive raises. I mean, these are double-digit percents.
I look at it actually a different way. I think this just comes down to the minimum wage debate. I mean, what are we talking about here? These are young people, low-wage earners, black workers. I think at least 2 out of 3 for sure. This comes down to minimum wage. This whole fight for 15 that's been transpiring for the last 5 years. Now they're talking about minimum wage, $20 certain places. And then, minimum wage in New York is a lot different than Tuscaloosa, Alabama. I think a lot of this is the minimum wage debate. And then, the minimum, I think if you're a worker and you're getting $12 an hour or $10 an hour and you're fighting for 15, I get it. And then you're fighting for 15 for 20, I get it. But think about the business owner, the small business. I mean, you could talk about this all day, Pat. How do you make payroll sometimes? How do you, and then there's other parts of the payroll that this is not my wheelhouse, but workman's comp type stuff, right? Or payroll tax, these types of things that as a small business owner, these are things that you need to be considering. And that the average worker is just like, fuck it, I want $20 an hour. That's where I got. It's $40,000 now. You just went from $10 an hour.
All it does when you raise the minimum wages is it helps the big companies. It hurts the small companies. Let me give you an idea of what happened with capitalism. This is why capitalism works, and this is why too much government intervention gets in the way. Watch this. Watch what the market does. What is the minimum wage in America today?
It's like $7 or $8.
It's $7.25 or some number like that. Okay, where is it going to by July? Do you know the number?
Where it's going?
July is going to $9.50 an hour by July of this year. Okay. Do you know right now what you get paid if you work at Walmart?
An hour.
What's their minimum wage if
15.
you got it? $12 an hour.
$12.
Okay.
Do you know what it is at Amazon and Target?
20?
$15 an hour.
Wow. Okay.
So guess what Walmart's been having a hard time doing? Attracting people, hiring people. So Walmart sat there and said, dude, we cannot be giving our minimum wage at $12. Walmart just announced starting wage to anybody they hire is officially $14, which, by the way, it's still not $15, which is Target and Amazon. So if a person wanted to go get a job and you're a 18-year-old kid, 17-year-old kid, 20, you're like, dude, I just need a job that pays me good to start off with. You have to choose between Walmart and you have to choose between Target and Amazon. Where are you going to?
Whoever pays more.
Yeah,
Target and Amazon pay buck more.
Yeah.
So you know what happens? Who takes a hit?
The company.
The little
Walmart.
guys.
No. Walmart takes a hit here. You're right.
Yeah.
100%. But here, the point I'm trying to make to you is the following. Whether the government raises the minimum wage from $7.25 to $9.50 has nothing to do with this.
Yeah.
Nothing to do with this because they still have to pay. They're still way above whatever the minimum wage is. However, the Walmarts of the world can afford $15 an hour. Mm-hmm. The Amazon and the Targets of the world can afford $15 an hour. The small little shop in Kansas, who's been there for 42 years, business was passed down from mom and dad to them, they can't afford to go to $15 an hour. Right across the street, there's a Walmart, opens up, okay? Kids out of high school whose someone's son comes and starts working for you. Now, that guy's father says, listen, instead of working for Joey's little market that he has, go to Walmart right across the street. Joey only pays $11 an hour. Such and such pays $15 an hour. Go to them. You lose. You're going to take a hit. So, again, one side, capitalism works. Market dictates wages. Government getting involved doesn't work. And if you do force people to pay a higher minimum wage, the small business owners that produce 49% of all the jobs in America take a massive hit. You cannot do that, okay? You cannot do that.
I'll tell you one thing I've learned from you is essentially what the big guys will say to grandstand versus what actually happens. So if you're Jeff Bezos or who's the new CEO of Amazon, Andy Jazzy Jeff, and well, all workers deserve $15 an hour, and I totally advocate bumping that up to $16. Workers have rights. Let's get behind our workforce, because they're saying that publicly, grandstanding, but they know they just took Tommy's Toy Store out of business. Yep. And Billy's Boutique out of business, and Patty Pat Cakes out of it. Like all these small little businesses that you're talking about in Kansas, I can't do $15 an hour. I can't do $18 an hour. I can barely do $12. And so on the surface, the Andy Jazzies of the world are going to come out there and grandstand. But low key, it's because they're putting any small competitors out of business, and that's how they develop their monopoly.
Okay, let's do a little math. Let's do a little fast case study. Remember when New York, which goes back about 7 years ago, said, hey, we're going to do McDonald's and all these places, and they specifically called out fast food, and they said $15 an hour. Remember that? Remember that whole thing? Mm-hmm. Okay. And you remember what showed up, I think it was a year and a half later? Kiosks. 2 ordering kiosks showed up, and 2 counter people were no longer needed. Okay, now watch this.
You're saying order your food at the kiosk to tap it in rather than ordering it at the counter.
Right. Yeah. So there's 2 people at the counter and 2 kiosks now at a mid-sized McDonald's. Watch what happens. The 2 people are now up to $15 an hour. The 2 kiosks, I pay them electricity. So now I have 2 people, that's $30 an hour, but I have 4 working units. Divide 30 by 4. $7.50.
Yep.
Wow.
Now my total labor cost to take orders is $7.50 an hour because I have 2 humans and 2 kiosks. What also happens is the large part of the market solves problems that politicians cause. And if you invoke costs, the innovation is going to come from innovative companies that are trying to solve that because they're ultimately trying to be profitable and make a return for the shareholders. Mm-hmm. And that's a great, simple little case study on how McDonald's was forced to pay $7.50 an hour, but the true labor cost for 4 counter workers was forced to be paying $15 an hour for 2 humans, which is $30 over an hour. But they have 2 kiosks working. Divide by 4 is back to $7.50 an hour.
By the way, such a great case example because we've all been to Walmart where it's like there's self-checkout over here.
Yeah.
Or you go to Walgreens or CVS, it's like now I'm the bagger. Now it's my job to bag everything. It's because when you start raising the prices and they start
losing people,
lowering the amount of employees, they're going to make you do the bagging 100%. Customer because now there's half the employees there and now you're incurring that cost.
Yeah.
Now I got to become a professional bag boy because they're raising the minimum wage.
What's wrong with being a bag Red Win Dixie?
Nothing. You did.
Nothing.
I'm sorry, guys. I'm offended right now.
Yeah, and Pat, you know what?
Listen, 170 million ain't what it used to be. You got to go get a job.
You guys went a different route on the store, which was great. You know what I got from it when I read biggest pay raises went to black workers?
Yeah.
All we've been told for God knows how long from the left is this is a racist country. We're systemically racist. From Pete Buttigieg saying Bridges, and this is a fact, Bridges are racist. From Stacey Abrams saying asking IDs for voting is so racist. That's a great headline to see that we're not as racist as they're saying. If black people are getting these biggest pay raises, then I guess the left, they might be a little bit wrong about how racist we are as a country.
But they
course.
need that problem to,
of course,
pin us against each other. That's
big time. But that's a great headline.
No, yeah,
that's amazing.
So next story, Tom. I know you have thoughts on this. Jeff Bezos may be selling Washington Post to buy Commanders. Investors say this is a New York Post story that just came out. So the problem for Bezos reportedly is that the Commanders' embattled owner, Dan Snyder, is still sore over the storied newspaper series of exposés alleging a toxic management culture at the team where bosses, including Snyder, allegedly enabled sex harassment. Some even believe that Snyder suspects Bezos, who bought the Washington Post in 2013 for $250 million, encouraged the tough coverage in 2020 in a bid to force him to sell the team. Front Office Sports reports last Tuesday that Bank of America, hired by Snyder to auction the Commanders, continues to court Bezos, even if there are indicators that Snyder doesn't want to sell to the Amazon founder. Tom, what's going to end up happening here?
Well, first of all, it doesn't matter what Dan Snyder thinks. Dan Snyder, his organization was horribly sexist. We found out what the whistleblowers pointed out. It wasn't overblown. They were not cleat chasers. They weren't girls looking for money. This was really a nasty environment, especially the turnover of employees. And the NFL said, enough. You're selling. Same thing happened with Carolina Panthers. And we all know in the NBA, Phoenix owner, right, Pat? Phoenix Suns owner. It's like, hey, man, we need to go to a new era, of positive, encouraging, labor bases and workplaces. And so Bezos, what's he in the business of? Selling papers. So what he did, he ran stories. He ran stories in the Washington market. And maybe this owner was used to getting his way with the newspaper. Hey, the NFL, we buy, we do a lot of things. We bring a lot of money to this town. Maybe go a little easy on us. And they send their lawyers and their PR people after it. Guess what? Gigs up. And the other side of it is, if Bezos does want to buy the Commanders, I don't think he has to play this game that Dan Snyder thinks he's playing. I think Bezos could call the NFL and say, were you looking for an owner and looking to force the sale, like you forced the sale of the Dodgers when they had a bad owner, and the NBA in Phoenix and all this? Are you looking for someone with some dollars to enter in this? Please hold for Bank of America. They're running the auction for us. Thank you very much, Mr. Bezos. Your number is number 622. Here's your paddle. The auction starts tomorrow. And I think it's that simple. The NFL would love to have an owner like Bezos come in and buy the franchise, especially since Bezos is putting his mansion, his life, base of operations in Washington.
What's the percentage that he's going to end up buying it? What are the odds?
I'm at 60% and rising right now because the NFL wants this to happen and they need somebody to buy the franchise. And just like, remember what happened with Jerry down in Carolina? And they're like, dude, you are selling this and you have no choice. You're done. And they did the Dodgers with the McCourt family. Remember that? Baseball
yeah, I mean, they forced out Donald Sterling when they brought in, what's his name from Microsoft? Ballmer.
Steve Ballmer.
Came in and bought him.
Great example.
Yeah, when they want to force somebody out, they know how to do it to force somebody out. So
if Bezos buys it, you think he'll change the name to like the Washington Amazonian, something different to make it look, you know what I mean? Because that name is horrible. The Commander's bat is horrible. Like the Amazonians, it's like that ship box, that
Commanders
arrow.
is a pretty bad name.
It's not cool.
And the logo's not.
Logo's not good.
Yeah,
the Amazonians.
Well, he was embattled in the whole Redskins controversy for a decade.
Yeah.
I'll just say this about Dan Snyder. Number one, Jeff Bezos could spend $250 million, even overpay $300 million. Is that the price tag that they're asking for?
No.
Oh no,
$6 billion. No, it's
$6 billion?
Yeah.
Sorry, that's what he bought the
Washington right now.
By the way, he only bought the Washington Post for $250 million. Is that what that number is?
You know what it's worth today? $251. It's gone up $1 million.
That's exactly right.
I guess my point is Bezos could buy that no problem. Here's my thing with Dan Snyder. How many NFL owners' names can you name off the top of your head?
Me.
We all know Jerry Jones.
Jerry Jones is the guy.
Kraft.
We know Bob Kraft because he's won
Ballmer.
7 Super. No, that's NBA.
Oh, you said NFL.
NFL owners.
And Mara,
Jerry Jones,
Mara from the
Kraft.
Giants.
Yeah, very public family, the Mora family.
Yeah, great actors.
Al Davis, he's passed away, but his son, Mark
Exactly.
Davis.
You don't is okay. So
The Raiders, Davis and the Raiders, very common. That's not just because I know it.
you know Al Davis because he's a legacy. Most people don't know who the new owner is, though.
Mark Davis' son, actually.
Okay, gotcha.
Yeah, the vast majority of the owners.
That's my
nobody really
point.
knows. Yeah,
Is that okay?
We know
but
the
why,
famous
but
ones.
why do you know those names? You know Jerry Jones because he was the most expensive franchise
so
in the
you're
world,
saying-
Dallas Cowboys,
and people getting in
you
trouble,
know-
and it's America's team. Robert Kraft because he's won 6 Super Bowls.
Yeah.
Okay, so these are legacy. Al Davis because they won Super Bowls in the 80s.
And they were
Point
kind
is,
of a
you don't
face.
know these owners' names.
The majority
These
of
are
them know.
nameless, faceless billionaires.
Yeah.
Why do we know Dan Snyder's name? Redskins haven't done shit since the 80s.
Yeah.
Okay? It's because his brand is tarnished, it's toxic,
Yeah.
and his name's always in the news because they want him out of there. What's the guy who just is selling Phoenix Suns? Robert Sarver.
Yeah.
Is the new Donald Sterling of the NBA. The point is they're going to keep. It's almost like in politics: slow drip, slow drip, slow drip. Like what's happening with Biden right now. You might think it's the RNC that's doing this. I think it's a lot of the DNC that's like slow drip, slow drip. When you want someone out, that's it. You want them out. That's what's going on with Dan Snyder. Is everyone wants him out of there, and they're just going to keep leaning on him until he sells.
Okay, so listen, are you thinking about
Going halvesies with you for
that's-
$6 billion?
Adam needs a paddle.
Yes.
Adam needs a paddle. Anyway, so Logan Paul. Let's talk about Logan Paul. What's going on with Logan Paul? You know, you're first seeing what happened with, you know, him and his. I think George is no longer with him.
Oh, really?
I think they had a falling out.
Seriously?
I think there was a falling out also with Mike recently.
With Big Mike too?
With Mike and by the way, I think Mike is a very interesting
talented.
guy. Yeah, I think he's very, very talented. I think he's very talented. George comes across as a very good guy, sweetheart of a guy. Logan Paul comes across as a superstar, super talented guy. But I wonder what he's going through with this whole crypto zoo. What what he went through with that.
Coffeezilla.
Yeah, I mean, but the company is what I'm talking about, Crypto Zoo, and you know what I think about situations like this sometimes. Sometimes we hired a publicist, PR firm once, and I went and sat down with the guys, and he says, here's what you say when it's this, and then I get into the car, I'm like, okay, so this guy's a big shot guy. We're paying these guys $20,000. They probably know what they're doing. And I walk him in the car driving home from Beverly Hills. I'm like, dude, I don't even believe what this guy's saying. I could never say what this guy's saying. Yeah, I'm thinking to myself, so here's how we got to handle this situation. Say this. Like, dude, that's not my style to say this. Let's go. So eventually we're like, yeah, we're not hiring a publicist. Maybe eventually we'll have a full-time person here working in-house that's kind of working with us, but not going to a PR firm because they have they have a very similar way of apology letters. Like they have already 50 different formats of apologies. They take one out and like, hey, here's the apology one for you to use. I typed it out. Our team put it together.
Yeah.
They're just pulling an apology thing that they've used before. Do this, do that. I wonder how much of this is success getting to your head. I wonder how much of this is who's in your ear. I wonder how much of this is being afraid because of the last time you got canceled with Japan. I wonder how much of this is walking on eggshells. I wonder how much of this, when Tate says you're a bot, you're reading a script.
The tool of the Matrix.
I wonder how much of this, like, by the way, there's a lot of people that are taking a lot of shots at this guy, Logan. I have a suggestion for Logan Paul. Here's what my suggestion is. I think it's a very hard suggestion for me to say this. It's not easy to say this, and I don't think he would do it. But I think Logan needs to take a 90-day break and step away from everybody. Go on a 90-day hiatus from wrestling, from everything. You are a rock star. The world knows who you are. Step away and go back and write down, make a list of values and principles that you follow, that you live by. Go and remember the 12-year-old kid you were, things your mom's taught you, mistakes you've made, how you've learned from them. Don't come back with a script that your publicist has given you to tell the world. Speak to certain people that don't benefit from you, that don't make money off of you, that want nothing from you, and see if they can give you some direction on how to approach this, because this is not going in the right direction the way things are going. There's certain times in life You got to take 90 days off and just kind of disappear and come back stronger. I mean, maybe step away and go watch the movie. What is that movie? What is that?
Castaway?
No, not Castaway. No, the one where the guy goes away and he gets arrested and he just reads and recreates himself and comes back and becomes the main guy. Count of Monte Cristo.
Count of Monte Cristo, yeah.
Count of Monte Cristo. With Caviezel, I believe he's in it.
Yeah.
To just go away and figure yourself out. Life is precious. Life is awesome. It's horrible when you're faking it, when you're acting and you're saying stuff that you don't believe in. And I'm not sure. By the way, I believe Jake is saying more things he believes in than Logan is saying right now. I think Logan is being forced to say things that he is thinking is the right thing to say because someone told him to say it. I think Jake just doesn't give a shit. Jake just goes out there and says, here's what I'm about. Here's what I'm doing. Here's what I'm doing. And I know as much as he's more like the Maverick, he's more like the rebel. What do they call him? The problem child. And then Logan is the Maverick brand that he has. Jake is more straight up, problem child. I think Logan needs to take 90 days off and disappear. And let everybody says, where's Logan Paul? I'm taking 90 days off. And then come back up and reappear and see what you do. And some of the relationships that you screwed up, go meet with them face to face, not live. Forget about the eyeballs for a second. Hey, let's do this. How about we do this live so everybody can see? No, just the two of you. There's certain things you just got to go away and do it yourself, and it's nobody's damn business. Not everything you do is about getting eyeballs. Certain things in life are more valuable than eyeballs. Relationships, sincere relationships, friendships, things that matter. There's depth to life. And I think sometimes you can fall for this trap of, if we do this, I think this could get 5 million views. Hey, what am I? We could fake controversy. Dude, stop living that life. You're too good. You have too big of an upside. Step away 90 days. I may be wrong. My suggestion, go disappear, come back, shock the world with the better version of you, and then let's see what's going to happen to the next upgraded version of your iOS software that you have.
I like that.
I really appreciate your advice because you're not coming from a point of, you're the worst, I can't believe you would do this, but you're also holding him accountable for maybe decisions that he's sort of recklessly made. If you look at the title of this article, YouTuber Logan Paul is taking a beating over crypto zoo, but he's far from the only celeb hyping up risky investments. Here's why young fans could be left holding the bag. Here's my question. So he's far from the only celeb. We've seen what's happened with Kevin O'Leary. We just talked about that, right? He took $15 million from FTX. Turns out that wasn't the best bet. Gary Vee, he was doing his whole Gary Vee fans, all that. Matt Damon took some heat from. Obviously, we saw what happened with SBF. We just talked about taking easy money and not vetting sponsors and what happens when you don't vet sponsors and you're going after fads. How much of this is a crypto thing that they just thought that they were going to believe in? How much of this is not properly vetting who you're aligning yourself with?
This cannot affect a guy like George, who's your lifelong friend. This cannot affect a guy like Mike. Mike is a good guy. Like, I don't know Mike. I've never talked to Mike. Ever. I've never had an interaction with Logan. Never. We've never been to the same place. So I'm not coming from a place of having too much intel. I'm just coming from a place of what the world knows and what they've been able to do with their brands. The guy, I watch him wrestle. I watch Logan Paul wrestle. I'm not even a wrestling guy. I watch a clip of guy saying, I'm like, how the hell can you do that? Like, physically, the stuff the guy was doing, the double flips and all, I'm like, to be that athletic and be that funny and be that entertaining and be like that charming charisma and all this stuff. But bro, he's 27 years old. Gary knows exactly what he's doing. He's in his late 40s, mid to late. I don't know how old he is. I think he's in his mid to late 40s. I don't know how old Kevin is. Kevin is mid 50s, late 50s. I don't know his age.
60s probably.
Gary and Kevin know what they're doing. This guy's 27, and life's going very fast. Very, very fast at 27. Pump your brakes. Take a step back. Talk to some real people who have nothing to gain from you. Zero. People that don't even want the world to know that you spoke to them. Those types of people. Not the types of people you talk to and like, hey, you want to come on my podcast? No. I don't want to be on your podcast. I don't want you to be on anything. I just want to talk to you. Let's see where you're at, where you're going with this. I don't need any credit for this. Years later, if you want to talk about it, go for it. He needs to figure himself out. I just think he needs to step away to figure himself out. It can get very ugly very quickly the way it's going right now. Because you look, I've lost people in my life, okay? But sometimes in life, you lose people that you're supposed to lose because you're growing and they're not. Can't do anything about that. Those types of people you lose, it's totally fine. okay? But sometimes you lose great people in your life where everybody knew that person was great for you. You can't bullshit the world and say, well, he's an idiot anyways. No, he's not. He was very good for you, okay? Stop fooling yourself. You are the alpha of the group, I get you, but that girl was very good for you. That guy was very good for you. That man was very good for you. I got it. But don't fool yourself. You cannot lose great people in your life who are not afraid to tell you the truth to your face and challenge you to improve. I thought Mike was one of those. And by the way, they may even be going through what they're going through right now. It is what it is. But it's hard to find people like that. And when it all becomes like, it's me, everybody's telling you you're amazing, they're doing this, they're doing that. Let me tell you, without you, they wouldn't know anything and all this stuff. People will say things like that to the main guy to kind of get, like, there's very simple languages that divide people. Stuff like this. You know, the only reason people know your girl is because they know you. The only reason people know your man is because they know you. Okay, the only reason people know is because of your success. Without you, you would have never won a champion. Hey, Michael, without you, Scotty would have never done this. Hey, Scotty, without you, Michael never would have. People will say shit like that to get in between great running mates, great partnerships. You can't fall for that bullshit. Anyways, I think he's falling for it, and I think he needs a 90-day break. By the way, I love the fact that Kanye took 4-6 weeks off.
I was just going to say
good for him.
Yeah.
Hey, the fact that you've disappeared, good for you. I think if you can go 90 days, do it. Okay, do it. But I think Logan is on the list of right now needing to go away for 90 days.
I agree. And what the only thing we saw with Kanye was he got engaged or married. What happened? He married somebody from his Yeezy thing that he was in the news, like you said, completely dropped off. He's taking his time out. The only thing that you heard is something positive.
By the way, the 90 days is also to leave, to actually think and recreate. Meaning, you know, if let's just say we say, hey, let's go do a business retreat for 4 days. Mm-hmm. We go to a house we rent in Bahamas, and for 4 days we get hammered. That was not a business retreat.
Yeah.
You didn't do shit. You're not coming back any different.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Or we go to 4 days, and we strategize every day from 8 to 5, and at night we go to restaurants, we have a good time, we do this, and we go to sleep at a reasonable time, and then bam, back at it again, right? Yeah. There was an outcome to it. When you take 90 days up, it's not 90 days to go do nothing.
Yeah.
It's 90 days to go and have a personal intervention when you do that. I've been through it before, and I think it's very, very effective. If done at the right time, great things can happen to you. Okay?
I agree.
Anyways, that's a Logan Paul story. We can continue to other stories. So, LGBTQ families mull leaving Florida in wake of new culture laws. Okay, new culture laws. Let's see what this story is all about, which, by the way, we talked about this briefly a few months ago. Robbie Price and his husband, Jordan Lechert, are considering leaving their home in Florida due to what they say is a lack of tolerance and policies that marginalize the LGBTQ community. The couple, who have been together for 12 years and have a 6-year-old son, Kellen, say that the discrimination and hate they have experienced in recent years has become in your face. In spring of 2022, a Florida legislator enacted 2 laws. The Individual Freedom Act, more commonly known as the Stop Wrongs Against Our Kids and Employees, WOKE Act, and the Parents' Right in Education, and dubbed by critics as a Don't Say Gay bill that regulates how race, sexual orientation, and gender identity can be discussed in schools. For me, when I see something like, I'm going to show you guys a video clip right now that you're going to be blown away by this man. Seriously, you're going to be blown away by this. Rob, I'm going to text it to you in a second. For me, here's how this works. You know how people were saying, you know, Roe v. Wade, you know, abortion this, abortion that. You know, I don't feel safe being gay here, or I want entitlements. Look, if you want a lot of entitlements right now, the city of San Francisco is thinking about giving a $5 million reparation to black people in their city. Did you see the story or no? Okay.
Yeah.
Did you hear about this?
San Francisco?
San Francisco wants to give $5 million of reparation to black people that live in that city. Guess what that's going to do? If I'm black and I'm wanting the $5 million, maybe I'll consider, if you can pull up that article. This is CNN. San Francisco Reparations Committee proposes a $5 million payment to each black resident. Think about that. How quickly would you want to go be a black resident in San Francisco? That is the fastest way to attract a lot of black residents, okay? If that's what you're proposing. If that's important to you, go to San Francisco. If for you want to be part of the LGBTQ community and you want to feel free to do whatever you want to do, Florida's not the state right now. It may change. Yeah. It's not right now. Consider going to Austin. Consider going to California. consider going to different markets. By the way, I lived in Dallas. Dallas had a very big gay community. Tom, I don't know if you remember this or not. Dallas's gay community was massive.
Yep.
When you would go to, Uptown, not Uptown, what was it? Not Highland Park, the other one, something Park. It was
University Park. It was
University Park,
just 6 blocks east of the American Arena.
Yeah, hey, if you want abortions, right? Okay, these following states, go to those states. If you don't want to pay high taxes, you want to pay low taxes. There's 5 or 6 states, Tennessee, Texas, Florida. You got a few states you can go to. They can benefit from taxes. I want a lot of entitlement and welfare and stuff like that. Go to California. Go to New York. Your policies are going to attract the types of people you want. Mm-hmm. So I am not surprised. And I don't blame these folks for wanting to leave a state like Florida. Totally get it. I suggest this family choose a state that's going to be a little bit more accommodating to their policies because it's normal. Some places are not welcoming of certain people. I didn't feel welcome to be in California and a business owner. I can't sit there and bitch and whine about it. I moved to Texas, and I was very happy. Yep. And from Texas, I wanted lifestyle. I moved to Florida. I'm very happy. It could change 10 years from now based on a different governor. It could change 20 years from now. Tom, what are your thoughts when you read a story like this?
My thoughts don't go to this particular family. My thoughts go to... I get so tired of headlines that every time someone's upset, they're leaving and going somewhere else. If this election goes the wrong way, I'm moving to Canada. If this tax thing goes the wrong way, I'm moving to Canada. And you'll notice that Canada's population really hasn't gone berserk. So there's a lot of celebrities and people on the left that have not gone to Canada. So I think this I'm mad, I'm leaving stuff, I think is... they may have real reasons behind it, but I get tired of the headline like that. It's as you say, America is the greatest country in the world, and there are communities all over the place that you may feel more comfortable in this community and that community, and go find your comfort. And I just get tired of the I'm mad, I'm leaving angle, Pat. What you said about find a community that embraces you, that for who you are, what you want to do, where you want to go, or things you're working on right now, go there.
But by the way, do you guys have any unique thoughts on this? If not, I want to show this video to you. Go ahead.
I'll give you one thing. By the way, what percentage of people in America are gay?
Well, it's increased. It used to be less than 1%. It's at 5%.
Right. But if you, correct. By the way, there's a recent poll, this is by Gallup. They asked Americans what percentage you think are LGBTQ. They said 25%, meaning it's not 25%, it's 5%. So people get sensationalized. We had Nikki Fried on the podcast. We were just talking about this last night, ironically, who was running for governor against Charlie Crist and the Democratic Party. And she was saying here on the podcast, when Jedediah and her kind of got into it, she goes, you understand how many people I talk to that aren't comfortable here in Florida and they want to leave and they don't like the fact that what's going on here and DeSantis and the Don't Say Gay bill and people are moving out of Florida in drove. I said, what? I go, I don't know where you're getting these numbers or who you're speaking to, but everything I'm seeing, hearing, feeling is people are flocking to Florida like crazy. But what you're trying to twist right now is the fact that people are leaving Florida because of a Don't Say Gay bill, and you're bringing up this story with Robbie Price and his husband Jordan Letcher. You're making this up. This isn't a real thing.
You know what
People are coming to Florida. Stop it with the nonsense. Nobody believes you.
No, go ahead.
That's it.
Yeah, but here's my thing though. I don't know what you guys all read from that. It's coming down to these two, this gay male couple who have a kid. This all comes down to me. It's obsession with the kids. Okay, this is what it is. Nobody cares if you're gay or do whatever the hell you do. These acts to stop the woke. Both of these acts that we put in is just
wait
leaving.
Till you watch this video.
Pat, leave. By the way, you're a gay couple. You have a 6-year-old kid. You teach whatever thing about gays. That kid's gonna know. You want to leave here because why? The governor here is telling people, hey, listen, kids shouldn't be sexualized. They shouldn't know about this shit till they get older. If you want to leave because we're trying to protect kids, what's this obsession with kids? And no, we want to teach them and leave the fucking kids alone, bro.
Watch this video. Bro, just watch it. It's the perfect transition into this video. Watch this video.
Good evening. Every teacher that has a pride flag in their classroom should be fired and arrested. The gay flag is a sexual flag. It represents nothing other than sexual things. gay, lesbian, bisexual, transgender, and questioning. What business is it of anyone on this board of what children would like to do with other children? It is none of your business. It is between them and their parents. But however, you guys want to illegally survey your students. My name is Frank Rodriguez. I'm the Executive Director of Operations for Gays Against Groomers. I'm a 31-year-old gay man pushing back against the agenda that's happening within our classrooms. Keeping parents away from this discussion is absolutely severing the relationship between a child and their parent. My community is not discriminated against anymore. Shockingly enough, we succeeded. Now you're sending out surveys that's asking students what their gender is, what their pronouns are, and whether or not you should be telling their parents. Could you imagine if my son or one of yours went to school and said, "Hey, I'm gay," and you never knew? All of you up here are pretty intelligent. You have doctorate degrees, you're educated, and you lead this district. But yet, you turn a blind eye with the sexual things that happen in your classroom.
Watch this.
I refuse to believe that any of you think that that's appropriate. Because if you think that that is appropriate, you would be a predator. There's images that are going to be displayed today for you to see of a child sucking another child off. And that's in your classrooms.
What?
I shake because it makes me uncomfortable to even utter those words to you.
This is a gay man.
This is nothing about inclusion. It is nothing about respect to my community. I say with you with 100% truth, according to the Center of Disease Control, that the reason my community faces such issues in this world has absolutely nothing to do with the straight people on this planet. Has everything to do with the drugs that we digest. Has everything to do with our access to health care. The number one reason my community has so many mental health issues is because they don't have access to health care. And that's directly from the CDC. It is not slurs, it's not gay bashing. We don't have access to therapy. If you really want to help the LGBTQ community to feel really accepted in this world, embrace that people have mental health issues and they should seek help. Having a classroom without the American flag in it is a disgrace to this country. If this country wasn't here, millions of people around the world would perish. And that flag, this flag, should be held high by every single student.
Dude, oh my
Powerful.
God.
Holy shit.
Oh, do you not?
That was fantastic.
31-year-old gay man
guy
screaming at the top of his lungs, "America first."
Yep.
Enough with the woke agenda.
That was a perfect
fact-based think tank with statistics and things backing up his points.
Dude, like eloquent, like smart, saying it right, and then that twist of like, I'm a gay guy. Like,
and
what the hell are you
authority.
guys doing? They're sucking each other off. Like, he felt like he was, uncomfortable that was for him to say. And he's a gay guy.
And you can't say you're anti-gay, you're anti. It's like I'm gay.
Adam, I love
I just
those
left
arguments.
my boyfriend's house.
Going back to Adam, leave the kids alone. It's none of your goddamn business.
Yeah.
It's the parents' responsibility, bro. And if a gay couple wants to leave because the school is not, guess what? You teach your own kid whatever the hell you want. Leave the ones at school. If you want to leave, bro, bye.
But that's what you need at the end of the day is people calling out their own side. Whether it's in politics, whether it's in social issues, it's when you're calling out your own side and say, guys, enough.
Yeah.
What do he say specifically? He's like, we won. We figured it out. It's done.
Yeah.
Now there's this complete overcorrection and this indoctrination of kids.
Yeah.
And as a gay man, he's just basically saying enough.
Yeah.
Enough's enough.
And I questioned the other day, I was like, what is the obsession? Why is it that the powers that be want the sexualization of kids? Why are they pushing this down everybody's throat? No pun intended. Why is it happening, Pat? Like, why do you guys think they're forcing this so much and they're trying to make it like, look at the don't say gay bill and all this stuff? Why such a push?
So this just makes you when you hear, this is the crazy thing about speakers. When I was first getting into sales, I would watch different people speak from stage. And, the first one was so, as a kid, that I was attracted to was the guys that just screamed the entire time.
Yeah.
And they didn't know how to, like, enunciate, kind of go up, go down, go up, go down. Let me tell you what we're going to do. We're going to take over the world. I'm like, oh, my God. Oh, this is so awesome. And then after, like, a few months of listening to them, I'm like, dude, I'm burned out. And then I watched the guy would get up and speak, and then next thing you know, 60 minutes felt like 2 minutes. And you're like, wow, I never saw marriage that way before. I never saw money that way before. I never saw leadership that way before. I never saw relationships that way before. The guy didn't raise his voice. He was just kind of talking to you. And then when he wanted to make one point, maybe we would go elevate and, get excited about it. And like, that was the best speech I heard. This guy didn't raise his voice, stayed at the same level for 2 minutes and 20 seconds or so, and I got the chills all over my body. Because when somebody makes an argument in a logical way using reasoning and tapping into your emotions where you don't feel like a victim, you listen to this guy saying he sounds like a person that doesn't want you to feel sorry for him. He wants to be a leader, and he's given solutions. You just get off and you say, great freaking point, man.
Beautiful.
What are you going to say to a guy like that?
Yeah.
Okay. He didn't do anything but just give his argument to us, and we heard him out. Okay. We need more people like this to make their arguments. A guy like this, I don't know who this guy is. I've never met him. Frank Rodriguez. Some of you guys are asking about me sharing the video. I'm about to tweet it out so you can go out there and see it and learn more about him. They're trying to fight against the system that's trying to groom kids. And if that's really who he is, if this is not a spoof, if this is not trolling, if this isn't anything, he feels very sincere. People like this are going to make a very big impact the next 5, 10, 15 years. What is this here that you're talking about? Gays Against Groomers, a coalition of gay people who oppose the recent trend of indoctrinating, sexualizing, and medicalizing children under the age of under the guise of LGBTQ. Our community that once, can you zoom in a little bit more so I can read it? Our community that once preached love and acceptance of others has now been hijacked by radical activists who are now pushing extreme concepts onto society, specifically targeting children in recent years. The overwhelming majority of gay people are against what the community has transformed into, and we do not accept the political movement pushing their agenda in our home. Gays Against Groomers directly opposes the sexualization and indoctrination of children. This includes drag queens, story hours, drag shows involving children, the transitioning and and medicalization of minors, and gender theory being taught in classrooms. The activists backed by schools, government, woke media, and corporations have been speaking on our behalf for too long. When fighting for equality, our goal was to successfully integrate ourselves into society, but now these radicals aim to restructure it entirely in order to accommodate a fringe minority, as well as seek to indoctrinate children into their ideology. We're saying no.
Wow.
Yeah, it's pretty
Dude,
powerful. Right?
Well, it just shows that you can't just paint the LGBTQ community with a broad stroke with a large paintbrush. It's the radical people, what does it say at the very beginning? Radical activists are hijacking the LGBTQ movement to indoctrinate and radicalize young kids. To your point, stay away from the kids. It's so refreshing to see that there's grown-up LGBTQ community. They're like, no, we can be gay and we can get married and we can fight for that. Like you're saying, leave the freaking kids alone.
Yeah.
And I don't understand, I genuinely don't, why they want these young 6, 10, 12-year-old kids.
That's my question.
Learning this stuff.
Yeah, but mind you, Adam, this dude, like this organization, this is the small minority group within that. The majority of the LG, they want the kids and they want to push. It's like, I still question why. What is your obsession with them, bro? Like,
you know what I will
disgusting.
say, though? You know what I will say, though? Here's a part. Just be patient. Reasonable people will lead, okay? Just be patient. Reasonable people who present their arguments in a way where it makes sense, the world has no choice but to sit there and say, damn, this makes sense. Because there's guys that are instigators that jump in, that just want attention and want to seem like they're for the people, but they're not. They're just ass kissers. Like, you know how they say, oh, you're such a teacher's, what was it?
Teacher's pet, brown
You know,
noser.
you're such a teacher. They said, there really is people like that.
Of course.
Okay, there were people that weren't. They were just helping out the teachers, and there really were the people that were the teacher's pet that were brown nosing.
Yes.
Okay, there are a lot of people that are brown nosing different communities to be accepted into whatever. They're getting exposed, and it's a beautiful thing.
By the way, just read that one line. This Gays Against Groomers Here's the point. The overwhelming majority of gay people are against what this community has transformed into. And we do not accept the political movement of pushing their agenda in our name.
But here's my question, though. I haven't seen, Rob, have you? I have, these type of groups are new to me. All I've been seeing all over the media is kids in strip clubs, in New York, parents letting kids. It's just, dude, it's just the sexualization and their drag queen reading hour at school, and it's like, what is going on, bro? I don't get
exactly
it.
what Pat
I don't
just
get
said.
it.
Give it time.
Okay.
Let the people with common sense rise above
Present
the
your
crowd.
argument with the data. Present your argument with reason and calling out hypocrisy. And majority of the people will sit there and say, this makes sense. This makes sense. This makes sense. You're in the business of leading, converting, persuading, debating, giving arguments, yet being patient with the right people that are reasonable to say, you know what, Vinny, I kind of see your point. That's what we're doing. Anyways, let me share this one story about the top Russian official warns of global tragedy if allies send Ukraine new weapons. This story is on January 22nd. It's page 7 if you want to go to it. The story's on page 7. And it's interesting what just happened yesterday. So a leading official in Russia parliament has warned of a global tragedy if Ukraine gets new weapons from allies as the bitter fight between the two nations nears the 11-month mark. Volodin, Speaker of State Duma, Russia's lower house of the country's parliament, issued the ominous message Sunday. He said supplies of offensive weapons to Kiev regime would lead to a global catastrophe. Global catastrophe only means the N-word, nuclear, right? He claimed the United States and NATO's assistance to Ukraine has led to a terrible war. Volodin is a close ally of Vladimir Putin. He also is a member of Putin's Security Council. He said, if Washington and NATO supply weapons that would be used for striking peaceful cities and making attempt to seize our territory as they threatened to do, it would trigger retaliation with more powerful weapons. So what does U.S. do yesterday? How many tanks did we give to Ukraine yesterday? I think we gave them 31 tanks, if I'm not mistaken.
Yep.
31 Abram tanks, if I'm not mistaken, was given to them yesterday. I think the number is 31. Can you zoom in a little bit?
You're correct.
There you go. The U.S. will send 31 powerful battle tanks to Ukraine, joining Germany in sending the vehicles to support the fight against Russia's invasion. The decision to deliver the M1 Abrams tanks was announced just hours after Germany said it would send 14 of its Leopard 2 tanks to the battlefield. Berlin also cleared the way for the European countries to send German-made tanks from their own stocks. Ukraine has lobbied Western allies to send military equipment for months. There you go. So, yeah, here's the other part. Let me just say this, and then, Tom, I want to get your thoughts on this. Russia. This is more to Russia than anything else. This whole thing, if they do this, it's going to be catastrophic. If they do this, it's going to be catastrophic. Russia's been saying this now 6 or 7 times, and they've done nothing. Okay? Catastrophic. You know what they're saying to you, Russia? No one believes you anymore. They don't think you're going to do shit. They don't think you can do nothing. Now, thank God some people who are listening to this, Russia doesn't listen to this podcast. Putin's not sitting there saying, let me see what they're going to be saying on the PBD podcast, okay? Because if he did hear this on the podcast, he says, oh yeah, boom, right? Retaliate. But the truth of the matter is, you can't threaten somebody 6 or 7 times and not follow through. And the other side says, yeah, whatever, here's 31 more tanks. Yeah, whatever, here's this. Tom, what are your thoughts?
Well, I think the sooner that this thing gets resolved, the sooner the West can start picking up the $1 trillion tab it's going to take to rebuild Ukraine, because it's the breadbasket of Europe. It's a huge manufacturing base, and there's a huge rebuild that's necessary. But I'm agree with you. This feels like the mother that says, your kid's having a tantrum on the floor in Target. One more time, Jeremy, no ice cream. One more time, Jeremy, no jelly beans. And then it's like, hey, I'll give you gum if you'll stop. Right. So I think I'm kind of over it, just like you are, because I just think that
either do something or just stop saying it.
Yeah, that's exactly right. And I think what the West, remember the West was reluctant a year ago to send Stinger missiles, little stuff.
Yeah.
Now we're sending 31 of the most advanced battle tank, which will more than meet up against those Leopard 2 tanks. Germany's Leopard 2 tanks and the Abrams together are going to overmatch the Russian side. And I think what you have here is, I think the West is possibly coming to this point of, this incrementalism doesn't work. Writing big checks and doing all this incrementalism doesn't work. Let's just send the big stuff in there and let's get this thing over with. Because remember, when Russia was brought to its knees, 35 years ago in Afghanistan, and if you've ever seen the movie Charlie Wilson's War, you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
They eventually turn tail and go home. And it takes overwhelming force, and I don't think they're going to do anything. And I think it's a very real question is Vladimir really healthy, right? I think that's a very real question.
That's a different question. The question here is 11 months, you're not making progress. You're not coming across as the winner. You're not imposing yourself. They're not intimidated. You're turning their leader into a hero. He's being promoted as the next Churchill, being bullied by a guy like you. You're being compared to a guy that used to live in Germany who took his own life, some say. You're not, this is not a good storyline for them, okay? Your people are leaving your country. You were the number 2 country in the world for immigrants. Russia was number 2, believe it or not, for they're 11 million. Number 1 is U.S. at 41 million. Russia's number 2. You can pull up the data if you want to pull it up. Top countries in the world in immigration. You've been losing immigrants that are leaving your place. This is not a good look for you, okay? This is not a good look for you. And it's hurting you. So what are you going to do now? Zoom in? Okay, it used to be Russia, now it's Germany. Okay, so Germany's 2, Saudi's 3, Russia's 4.
But it's not even close. U.S. is running laps around everyone.
Just so you know, that number 2 years ago, in 2019, Russia was 4, because we were at 41 million. Now they're 4. Okay, there you go. You're declining on the list of immigrants wanting to go to your place.
I wonder why.
And they thought, and I know we got to wrap up, they thought that winter's coming with the gas and oil and everything that that Russia gives to the world as what they export would break the backs of Europe. But Europe is still doubling down. Germany's still sending tanks. The EU 100% is behind Ukraine. It's backfiring like crazy against Russia.
And coming down to the Biden administration, bro, like this is how to be in a war without saying you're in a war, okay? Like Pat,
proxy war is what it's called.
Whatever it is, if I want Pat, all 3 of you to go do a drive-by and shoot up Rob's house, and I supply you the car, the guns, the ammo, and you guys go and shoot up a bunch of people and kill a bunch of people, guess what legally was going to happen? Me, as the sender of all this shit, you orchestrated it. You started. You're supplying all this shit. You are just as much as in trouble as they are. So we are at, like you said,
that's the RICO Act.
We're involved, bro. We're so involved. But they'll never say, the Biden administration will never be like, yo, we're in a war. Trust me, bro. We're in it.
Dude, only a few years ago, the Winter Olympics were in Sochi.
Yeah,
and we were talking about a new Russia and a new era. Yeah. Remember all that? And remember, that was the Winter Olympics when it didn't snow, which was really inconvenient for the Winter Olympics. But you remember that? There was no snow. But at that time, remember, it's a new Russia. The Cold War is over. They're the host of an Olympic Games. All these things going on, and now look where they are. I mean, this is pretty pathetic.
Anyways, so folks, it's the end of the podcast. A lot of you guys DM me or tweet and ask me questions about what's going on with the live podcast. We're about to launch it this week, meaning physically live at the new office with the cigar lounge being done, all of that stuff with the crew, home team talking issues. We're probably going to do a 3 or 4 hour one. For those of you that haven't yet signed on to the text list, the moment we send the text, it's going to sell out within 30 minutes. A few thousand people have already registered for the text community that want to be one of the first. If you want to be told, the moment we announce tickets for sale for the first live podcast, meaning physically live with us at our Valuetainment building, text the word podcast to 310-340-1132. Once again, 310-340-1132, the word podcast. Text it to 310-340-1132. The moment we have the site set up to sell the tickets, I think the event's scheduled to be in February. We're going to send a text to that group, and like this, within 30 minutes, tickets are going to sell out. So text the word podcast. Once again, 310-340-1132. Let's put the phone number below as well in the chat so people know as well. Have a great day, everybody.
Podcast.
Take care. Bye-bye.